Hello, my fellow human. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. And if you're new here, thanks so much for joining us. Your time, your energy, and your presence are a true gift and a blessing. I'm deeply honored to be here sharing this human experience with you. Really quickly, I do things differently here on this channel, so there may be triggering statements that arise on the readings themselves, and there's no obligation to force it to fit, while keeping in mind that triggers can be a beautiful blueprint for us to deepen our healing journeys, okay? So today I'm going to be doing things a little bit different. I'm going to be grabbing a card from the Ancestral Path Tarot deck because we're getting a powerful message from your ancestors regarding your healing journey. And this deck is beautiful. It doesn't really come with an in-depth book. It's more like the little white book, but this is the name of the deck. It's by Julie Kuchia Watts or Kuchia Watts. I'm not sure how you say that, but these are really beautiful, beautiful cards. So we're going to get some from that, and I'm actually going to show them to you today. I don't do this very often. But the reason being is because when we get to your reading, the oracle that I'm going to be reading is going to be the last one that I draw, okay? So I'm still going to do things similar, but we're going to start out differently. Okay. Also, if you're interested and you're just catching the intro here, stick around. I do a collective reading after I shuffle the cards so we can get an overall energy before moving into the readings themselves. And most of the time, it's highly relevant to each one of the readings at some point, okay? So definitely check that out if you'd like. But let's start with our opening prayer to connect to the ancestral realms and the light of highest good. I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. I'm feeling so much better and just far more connected, and so I'm really excited about that. And if you're wondering what's been going on, I mentioned it on my last two readings. We're just kind of changing the focus of this channel a little bit to something that's more suited for my authentic expression, okay? So, my beloved source, this prayer is for any and all who come onto this reading. Today I ask that you open us up to the ancestral realms of highest light and love and help us receive the messages for our highest good for our healing journey. Sometimes our healing truly isn't ours, but it's our responsibility to face it. And that can be really challenging. Like, why didn't the people before us choose to heal these wounds? Why didn't they choose differently? Why didn't they learn more about themselves, where they come from, and who they are? Why are they allowing us to carry these wounds and in order to heal them ourselves? It can be really frustrating. But knowing that we've been given the awareness and the strength and the capability to heal them is such a blessing, even though it is challenging. It means that we can truly say it stops with us. We can truly say enough is enough. And for those of us that have extended families or are bringing children into this world or have children already, knowing that we've eased their burdens is such a gift as well. I mean, that they don't have to suffer through the same things that we suffered through. And on top of that, that this healing also affects everybody in our family, whether that's the older generations, the younger generations, or the current generations. We are affecting everybody with this love of healing we're bringing, this forgiveness that we're bringing, this truth that we're expressing, this creative aspect of ourselves we're allowing to be seen and heard, and the authenticity that we are embracing as we truly accept ourselves from a space of unconditional love, without judgment, and without reserve. We allow our entire family to shift. Whether we see that in the physical, knowing that it's happening in the spiritual. We don't have to see it with our own eyes, but we will feel it one day within our energy. So today, ancestors, I ask that you help hold each one of our hands as we walk through the tough cycles that have been left with us, while providing us with your wisdom, the truth that really is for each of us, and the clarity for us to step forward in confidence and understanding that loving ourselves is the most powerful gift that we've been given. As these words are spoken upon this tribe today, so shall they be. Amen. Aho, Hase. Thank you, thank you, thank you, my beloved source and ancestors. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so it's interesting because I keep getting this energy, like there's a lot of anxiety that's coming in right now. And so I do feel like everybody's dealing with something that's really hard. And before I get to the bottom of the deck, I really felt called to draw something from the middle. Yeah, so we have the Hanged One with the Hangman. And yeah, it's the perspective that we're seeing this. Look at this, though. It's something that could have really impacted you since you were in the womb. Something that you've really been holding on to for a really long time, since a child, right? And, you know, what I'm learning currently on my journey is how to really work with the inner child. And I've done a lot of inner child healing, but I'm really trying to work with my inner child, not just heal, but to have this partnership. And, you know, with the inner child, it's looking at the consciousness as the mother and the subconscious as the inner child itself, right? And it's a different way of looking at things, the Hanged One, right? Seeing things from a wider perspective, seeing things with a bigger picture, but learning to tell our inner child that we don't need to consciously remember those things that we went through. Like, we don't need to remember them, right? We don't want to remember them. We don't want to elicit that trauma all over again in our lives. But asking the inner child to truly be brave and courageous enough as we ask to hold their hand to let go of these contracts that maybe are there, or as they let go of these memories, and let's surrender them to the divine, surrender them to source, surrender them to the ancestors, and let them clear the table for us. Let them clear our energy for us. And with this baby in the womb, this is a baby in the womb, right? And so this is telling me that this is something that was given to you before birth, which means that there could have been a lot of stress while you were in your mother's womb. There could have been a lot of worries that were brought up in your mother's womb. And so it was already energetically affecting you at that time. You know, there could have been situations where some of you were not planned, or many of you were not planned, or many of you felt at some point or had been told at some point that you were a mistake. And remembering that the divine doesn't make any mistakes. Like, source did not make a mistake. Whether you've been told that by somebody in this world, especially if this is supposed to be a caretaker, that's so awful. And I'm so sorry. Or if you felt like a burden to them because of finances or a lack of material stability in this realm, you're not a burden. You were not meant to be a burden. It was just their way of looking at the life around them and projecting that onto you and making it as though it was your fault. You know, even though we know this, I just feel like I need to mention it. All of us that are born, we didn't ask to come here, right? Like, we didn't ask to be born in that moment. We asked to come experience this world. And yes, it was all planned and thinking about that, but still, like, stopping for just a second and looking at it from a logical standpoint. Like, we didn't ask our parents to have unprotected sex, right? We didn't ask them to get pregnant. And yet a lot of times, like, parents have made it our fault. And again, it's not to blame them, because chances are that that's something that they're passing on from their parents as well. Like, their parents made it seem like it was their fault that they were struggling, or that they were going through things, or there was a big surprise and there was an extra baby that was born that wasn't supposed to be born, right? There's all these things that are coming through here with this card, and it's incredibly heavy. But I also feel like this is something that's been keeping you from being rooted in this reality and feeling like you don't belong. Like, there's nothing that you can do that makes you feel like you belong, or you really struggle feeling like you belong. It's like everywhere you go, you're on the outside looking in. There's nowhere is there an open welcome for you to join the festivities, if you will, the festivities of life. And what your ancestors are saying is that mentality is not actually yours. This is something that was impressed upon you by the people who raised you. And again, we're not telling you this so that you can point the finger at them, which is so easy for us to do. It's just a reminder that you don't have to carry this belief. You can choose to consistently heal from this, or consistently repaint the picture for yourself, which sounds strange, but it's something that works in a very beautiful way. It's reminding your inner child, like, I'm sorry that I neglected you. I'm sorry that I didn't even know you were there. And I'm sorry I didn't know you were there. And it's not about assuming blame yourself. It's just being present with this inner child. Like thinking about if an adult came and said these things to you when you were little, like, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. I'm sorry I didn't encourage you. I'm sorry I didn't carry these burdens or help you carry these burdens that you were carrying. I'm sorry I wasn't even aware that you were suffering and going through these trials and tribulations. And that's what I'm really getting from this Hanged One energy. It's just reminding yourself that our perspective is everything, right? If you see the world as a glass half full, you're going to see things from a more positive aspect. If you see the world as a glass half empty, you're going to look at things on the lower vibrational side, potentially negative. It's me versus the world, or it's me emerging in the world. And it's all dependent on what we choose to focus our attention on. But remember, even if you have seen the world as a glass half empty kind of energy for a while, which a lot of us have, right? We're not looking to change this in a one time and go or overnight. This is just about asking ourselves to be conscious of those moments when we're really feeling like we're ostracized, or we're really feeling like we're judged, and then asking, is this the truth? Am I really being judged right now? And regardless if people are involved or not, chances are yes, we can be observing other people's energetic blueprint. We can be feeling that energetic vibration. It doesn't make it right or wrong, but we have to really take ourselves away from that for a moment and say, is this really the truth? Am I being judged right now, or am I judging myself because of a past circumstance, right? Am I being ostracized right now, or am I ostracizing myself because I feel like I need to, because I feel afraid to show who I am? And I feel like that's what the ancestors wanted to bring out with this card. So I'm going to put this back in the deck. Let's give this a quick shuffle, and then we'll check out the collective energy on the bottom of the deck. Yeah, as we get into it, there's definitely a new beginning coming for you for sure. Powerful ancestor message in regards to your healing right now. A lot of temptations. I feel like the material world has become a temptation. It's been easier to focus your energies on money, earning money, or trying to manipulate how much money you're getting right now. And while it's not a bad thing, it's just not where you're going to feel spiritually fulfilled, right? Yes, it may take care of some issues, but eventually those issues are going to resurface, or the things that you're not focusing on now. And that's going to create a bigger problem in the long run, okay? All right, powerful message from your ancestors in regards to your healing right now. Pile 1. What tarot card will help us better understand this message today for pile 1? Okay, thank you. These cards are massive. They're bigger than oracle cards, so, and I have tiny hands. I already have to shuffle from the side, and I can barely grab these, so they're massive. All right, pile number 2. What ancestor tarot card is going to help us better understand your message? A powerful ancestor message in regards to your healing right now. That's the one right there. Thank you. All right, pile number 3. Powerful ancestor message about your healing journey. What tarot card is going to help us better understand this message today for pile number 3? I feel like pile number 3 is just a little worried about what's coming through. And we should never worry about the messages that are coming through. We should be open to letting them tell us a deeper truth about ourselves. If it's resonant, and if it's not resonant, then we move on. We don't try to make that fit, right? And that can be powerful for us. And just remembering that. But also, like, the thing is it's hard because especially ancestors, like sometimes they're really, really blunt and they're really direct, and remembering that they're not trying to hurt our feelings, but they are trying to be direct with us because they've spent generations trying to connect with prior ancestral line and ancestral bloodlines, and they haven't made connection. And so when they finally make connection, it's like there's so much that's coming through. It sounds really overwhelming, or it sounds like maybe they're just being super forceful or unkind, and they're not. They're just being very honest. And sometimes honesty feels very hurtful. But remember that honesty, even when it hurts, isn't a bad thing. And sometimes that is like, as soon as something hurts our feelings, even if it's true, like we immediately reject it. But then we stop and we think about it for a while, and we come back and we're like, oh yeah, you know, that's true. It kind of, they're giving, that's a funny example, but I'm going to go with it. So they're giving me an example about like two kids, young kids, like say between the ages of 3 and 4, right? Like say you have a favorite toy, and you've been playing with this favorite toy, and you've forgotten all your other toys, right? And then you have a friend come over, and you're busy playing with your favorite toy. And so your friend doesn't have a toy to play with, and so they decide to pick one of your toys from the toy box, and then immediately you forget your favorite toy, and you want the toy that they're playing with, even though you haven't touched it in months. Right? And it's like, well, I want that because that they're making it look a lot more fun than I ever could make it look. And then your mom or your dad comes in and says, well, you haven't played with that for a while, so you need to share with your friends, and you throw a fit because that's not what you want to hear. You want your parents to tell you, give that toy back to them. That's their toy. Don't you dare touch it, because that's, as a child, that's what you think. Like they're coming to fight the fight for you, right? Like, yeah, they're going to do this for me. And again, it's just an example, but what they said wasn't untrue, right? They were telling you, like, you would have never even thought twice about that toy if your friend hadn't have picked it up. It would have gone another 6 months. We could have thrown it away, and you would have never thought about it again. But now the minute that the other child has it, like, you want it, and you want everybody to bend to your will because you want it right now. And that's how we are as humans, right? And it's not to oversimplify us or anything like that, but that's exactly what it is. We'll not think about something for a while, and then we're told a really deep truth, and we're like, no, you're supposed to come and defend me. But those deep truths are coming from the ancestors saying, like, we've forgotten about this, but now we're trying to bring it to the forefront, the conscious mind, the mother, right? We're trying to heal this and nurture ourselves and relinquish the control on it. All right, let's see what's on the bottom. No! Oh my gosh, what? Oh, what a day. What a day. I just gotta take a minute because what just happened? Oh my Jeebus. Okay, hold on. Let me take a drink, y'all. That is super wild. That is super wild. And then to have the example also be with the kids, and so what else am I supposed to say? This not only came out as a random draw, but it came back out on the bottom of the deck as the collective message. So the collective message is incredibly direct right now. Like, they're being very real about it, right? Look, in the Ace of Wands here, this is the gift. Okay, this is the gift of knowledge that they're giving you. This is, and spirit, right? Like, when we think about the Ace of Wands, it's connected to our spiritual force and our spiritual energy, but it's also our ability to connect with spirit and source and the divinity. And with the Ace of Staves here, the Ace of Wands, it's just a reminder, right? And I think about in the Tarot Marseille when he's holding, it's like somebody's holding the wand out to you. It's the gift that's being given from the unknown. And that's what I feel like they're saying here. This is the gift that we're giving you from the spiritual world to help you change your perspective on something that has otherwise left you feeling disconnected, or left you feeling like in a state of resentment, or in a state of blame, or in a state of you know, not wanting to face yourself or face the truth of this situation that you're going through right now. And it's okay. Like, all of those things are okay. None of us are blaming you for that. But remembering that if we don't take affirmative action right now, then it continues to move on, and we lose sight of really letting go and relinquishing these burdens and stepping into a free world for ourselves. And that's what they really want to come through here. So there's, again, just really focusing on the inner child here, really focusing on our perspective and how we see the world around us. And what it is, it's maybe we're focused on outside of us that is potentially blocking us, that's coming from wounds or trauma from the past, or belief systems or patterns that aren't ours to carry, but that we are carrying because we've convinced ourselves or someone else has convinced us somewhere along the way that they are real. Oh my gosh, this is wow, that was so cool. I just love doing this so much. I don't think there's ever going to be a time when I'm like, I can't stand this anymore. No, like, just how it works, it just always leaves me so baffled and in awe, and I'm just so grateful. All right, so I'm going to flip these over because we're also going to choose from the pictures on the cards themselves, and we'll see how they tie into your readings as we go. Okay, so wow, we have the Fool. What a chance. The first one's the Fool, which is her holding up her own card, right? Okay. So let's see. The second one, we have the Prince of Staves. Okay. That is the Knight of Wands. And then we have the Seven of Swords. Okay. I think my neighbor is out playing the guitar again. I love it. I wish that there was a way for you guys to hear it, but it's at such a weird angle that it doesn't actually come directly into the window. I just hear it as like a soft background noise. And so you guys are wondering again. Yeah, it talks about it on the reading I did just the other day. All right, so we're in frame. Okay, so for pile one, and also just really quickly, I did do all zodiac dice again, and if you pick it because it's your sign, that's perfectly okay, but that doesn't mean that this is only for the zodiacs, okay? This is just something else to choose from, all right? So for pile one, we do have this dice in Sagittarius. We have this piece, whoa, we're going to get there. With this piece of blue agate. I call this my bean agate. It looks like a little bean. Or you have the Fool card to choose from. Pile two, we have this dice with Libra on it for you to choose from. We have this piece of Unakite. You have the Prince of Staves to choose from, which is the Knight of Wands. Pile 3, we have this dice with Scorpio on it. Or we have this piece of lapis lazuli. Or you got the 7 of swords to choose from. So pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3, and whichever pile you feel called to, that should be the one for you, and I will see you over there. Hello, my fellow human. If you were drawn to this dice with Sagittarius on it, and not just for Sagittarius, it was just something to choose from. Perhaps you felt called to this piece of blue agate. Or maybe you were drawn to this card, the Fool. This is going to be your powerful message from your ancestors regarding your healing journey. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And if you're new here, thanks so much for joining us. Your time, your energy, and your presence are a true gift and a blessing. And I'm deeply honored to be here sharing this human experience with you. I do things differently here on this channel, so there might be triggering statements that do arise on the readings themselves. There's no obligation to force it to fit, while keeping in mind that triggers can be a beautiful blueprint for us to deepen our healing journeys. Really quick, if you did not catch the collective message, it was wild, okay? I drew a card before I shuffled, and then went into a message that was coming through really strongly, and I drew it on camera. And then after I shuffled the cards and got the cards out for the piles, and I talked a little bit more about it, I flipped the deck over, and the very same card came out on the bottom of the deck. It was wild. I loved it. It was amazing, but the message was very strong and very profound, and so I'm going to recommend that if you feel called to, check it out. There might be additional messages for you, but there's no obligation to, okay? So let's move into it. What is a powerful message from your ancestors regarding your healing journey, pile 1? Powerful message from your ancestors regarding your healing journey. Okay, so we've got the 12th house. We have Aries energy, and we have the South Node. There's been some anger that's been rising up from you in regards to your spiritual journey. And please understand before we get into this, because I do feel like this is going to be a lot and a heavy energy that's coming through already. Anger is a natural part of our existence. And sometimes if you're told that, oh, we have to maintain a certain air of positivity or whatever, it's like when anger arises. And it's always anger. Like I've talked to so many clients about this too. It's just always anger is the one that we struggle the most with because we see it as such a bad emotion. But anger is fuel for us if we choose to use it as fuel. We can redirect it towards our spiritual journey, towards our physical journey, towards our mental journey, towards our healing journey. Or we can try to shove it back down in whatever compartment it seemed to have escaped from and ignore it and move on. And so many of us do that, right? And I feel like maybe you've compartmentalized anger quite a bit, and then when it does rile up like it naturally does, it becomes much bigger and much more explosive than you had ever intended it to be. And then there's a feeling of guilt and blame and shame that comes with that. And your ancestors are reminding you, like, that's how you were in the past, right? With the South Node. No judgment, right? They're not judging you. They're just trying to point out that this was the steps that you had taken in the past and it didn't work out for you, and it left you feeling, you know, like maybe saying things that you didn't mean or hurting people that you didn't mean to hurt, and also getting hurt in turn, right? Because when we lash out at people because our anger becomes too much for us to handle and we project it out onto others, it is normal for people to lash back out, and especially if we've been surrounded by people who haven't necessarily come into a state of emotional awareness and emotional intelligence, right? And that's just a process. And even for those of us that have grown emotionally intelligent, this still happens. And so for those of you that have been on the journey for a long time, if your anger's gotten the best of you, no one here is beating you up as badly as you're beating yourself up. Right? Like, we get it. It's a human thing. It's an emotion that is very uncontrollable at times. And that's why it's necessary to dig in when the anger arises, instead of using it as a means to try to bury, or using it as like, oh, I'm not supposed to feel that, or that's a negative emotion and I shouldn't be feeling it because I'm on this positive journey and I need to stay positive all the time, which is absolutely impossible. Because life happens. All kinds of manner of trials, tribulations, adversities, things we grieve over, things we lose, things that we are and have no control over. All of these things happen to us on a regular. And how we react or respond to those things is going to be reminiscent of the things that triggered us when we were children, or didn't trigger us when we were children, because of the things that we experienced then. And this is definitely in line with the collective message that came out, for sure. And right now, instead of seeing it as a negative thing, your ancestors are reminding you that you can harness that rage, you can harness that anger, and you can use it to move to another level. You can use it to move on from where you're at. Not in the sense of projecting it on whomever is involved or whatever is involved, but using it for the creative journey, using it as a means to learn something more about your emotional healing, using it as a means to fuel whatever it is that you're currently working on in this moment. And that's where you're going to find some release from this comfortable pattern that maybe you've been slipping back into. And I'm guilty of this too, pile one. You're not alone. Okay. Like, I've done this before many times on this journey, because when I first started, I felt like anger was the worst emotion, because in my family, you don't get angry. Like, we were always stifled. When we got angry with each other, my mom, she was so wild about this sometimes. Like, my brother and I, we would fight and we would get onto each other and this, that, and the other. And my mom would be like, that's enough. And she would sit us down and we would have to face each other. And we would immediately have to say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And we would have to squash our anger and our rage in that moment. Otherwise, we would get in trouble. Like, we would get grounded, or we would have to go to our rooms, or, you know, like, we would miss out on dessert, or we would miss out on our TV shows, or whatever it was. Like, we were going to get punished for it. And so sometimes we would growl apologies at each other. I'm sorry, like that, because we were still angry. And mom would always say it like you mean it. And so as I grew up, that translated into me not focusing or facing my anger when it came up. And when it bubbled over, I was cutting people off at the knees, because I was just saying things just to hurt people, because I was hurt. I was hurt and I didn't know how to deal with it. And it was coming out as hurt, angry, right? And so, you know, having to deal with that and face that was something that was really uncomfortable for me, but it's been empowering as well. And there are moments when I still slip up too, because that was probably one of the longest running emotions that we were just not at all allowed to express in my family. Like, at all. And so, again, maybe you didn't go through quite a situation like that. Maybe you did. But right now, your ancestors are really pointing out that anger is the thing that's coming through. And that's followed by aggression. That's followed by maybe even bits of arrogance. Maybe even bits of insolence, right? Like, just, I want someone to feel as bad as I feel. And then again, when it bubbles up, right? It's not like you're intentionally trying to do this. It's just something, when it bubbles up, it goes out of control. And because you're just outside of the awareness of it, the minute you come into awareness, all those feelings of guilt hit you all at once, and it becomes this recurring pattern. And so instead of letting your anger get the best of you, right, which takes practice, it's not going to happen the first time around. What they're saying is to sit with it. Instead of saying something like you normally do, can you grit your teeth this time and sit with your anger? And tell yourself, it's okay that I'm angry. It's okay that this upsets me. It's okay that I feel this way. But we don't need to project that out onto each other, right? And try to tear each other down, which is what anger does. And when we look at the South Node, right? Looking at the South Node, it's this place of becoming comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. And that's what the South Node represents. And so it's something that it's uncomfortable, but it's still a comfortable response because it's what you become used to. And so they just want you to find some slowness and taking a breath, stopping and reconnecting with yourself, right? Like making a promise to yourself, if I get angry today, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths. I'm going to do that first. But if you miss doing that, don't spend all this time beating yourself up, because that just exacerbates the cycle. And so they're saying just recognize, well, I did my best, but I didn't do what I said I did, but I did my best today. And so I'm going to keep trying with this promise. Every time I get angry, I'm going to take 3 deep breaths, and then I'm going to approach it from a calm mind, right? And it just takes practice. It just takes setting that intention and allowing it to become a reality. And that's what they want to focus on. But let's see what else comes through here for you, pile 1. Powerful ancestor message in regards to your healing journey. And please, this idea of having to always be happy-go-lucky, that's the only way you can be higher vibrational, like, that's not the way life works, right? Like, even on the spiritual journey, that's not the way that life works. Like, sometimes we have to set those emotional boundaries with ourselves so that we can see things from a logical and reasonable place. It doesn't mean that light and love can't follow. What it's saying is that if you're trying to force yourself into an unnatural state when maybe you're grieving, right? Say you lost somebody in your life, or you lost a love, or you lost a pet, or you lost a home, or you lost a job, and you're just like, well, I'm just going to put a smile on and I'm going to force myself into being positive, when it's actually a time for grieving, right? Like, that's what they're saying. Let yourself experience those emotions. Powerful ancestor message in regards to your healing journey, pile number 1. Thank you. Right? And there's that song, and I know that this song has come up, but it's like, I was taught that speaking up was talking back. Right? And so there's this line in there, I was taught that speaking up was talking back. And that's something I myself experienced, right? Like, expressing how we felt about anything, if it did not fall in line with what my grandparents wanted or my parents wanted or expected of us, it was wrong, and we weren't allowed to express it, right? Like, a simple thing. And this, again, just to see it for what it is, right? Growing up, we drank soda. My mom drank Diet Coke, and the rest of the house drank whatever they wanted, and I was a Dr. Pepper girl. Like, I love Dr. Pepper. I don't drink soda now, but when we would go out to eat with my grandparents, my grandma said, you're only allowed to get Diet Coke, caffeine-free Diet Coke, or Diet Coke if they had it, or tea. That's it. And we couldn't get sweet tea. We had to get unsweet tea, right? Like, so it was either a choice between Diet Coke and sweet tea. And I know some people really love Diet Coke, but I've hated it since I was a kid. Like, I just have never liked the taste of Diet Coke. I just can't stand it. It just, it's like drinking battery acid to me. I've just never liked it. Okay. And so I never drank it. And so when I was like, cool, I'll just get regular tea. And so I grew accustomed to drinking regular unsweet tea. And that's what I drink most of the time now. Like, when I drink something other than water, I drink unsweet iced tea. But that was how my parents or my grandparents would control us when we went out. And when we're like, but we're allowed to drink. And as soon as we said that, it doesn't matter. I'm the one that's taking you out to lunch. And so you're going to do what I tell you to do. So we would always get cut off, and that was always just something like, instead of arguing, we would just get whatever it was that we were allowed to get, this little options that we were given. But see, the thing is that my grandpa, he could drink whatever soda he wanted. And then if my parents came with us, they could drink whatever they wanted too. But we, the kids, were only given these two options, Diet Coke or iced tea. It's weird. I haven't thought about this in years, and it's funny that they're bringing it up right now. But that's that energy. It's like just being able to express ourselves in that moment, saying, well, I don't like Diet Coke. If I ever said I didn't like Diet Coke, they would say too bad. Like, I was never respected in how I felt about Diet Coke. And so that taught me early on that if I don't just accept what's put in front of me, then I'm going to get in trouble, and I'm going to get judged or chastised, or I'm going to get what my family called talked to. You're going to get a talking to. But being talked to was basically getting scolded and, you know, in trouble. And so it's just something that came out. And so I feel like that's something that you're fighting right now, is feeling that, like, you know, and that created anger, right? Like, being stifled like that created a lot of anger. And so I had a hard time getting along with my grandparents because of stuff like that. That wasn't just the only thing, but just similar situations like that. I had a really hard time getting along with my grandparents. My brother, though, he was like, well, cool, whatever you guys want, you know, and he just, not because, I feel like that's the thing, like, it makes it seem like, oh, my brother was the golden child. In my family, he was, okay? But my brother submitted to that early on, and it's sad that I don't get to have these conversations with him now because, you know, he's gone. And I think about that, and I'm like, you know, he just submitted to that without any questions, but he'd also been around longer than I was, and so it was just the way things were, right? And so by the time I'd come around, that was just the way that things were. And I didn't like that, but no one would listen to me because my voice didn't matter. And so that grew into anger and rage. And then when it popped off, man, I said some crazy things. I said some crazy things to my parents, to my brother, to my grandparents, to my uncle, to my auntie. Like, I tell you what, I got the bar of soap in my mouth a couple of times when I was growing up, right? And that also says that expressing yourself is danger. Right? You're going to get a bar of soap. You're going to have to get your, and I tell you what, dial soap does not taste good. Ugh. And then to think that, oh, how poisonous was that as a kid? You know, like, our parents are just so bent on making us conform to their ideas, right? And that's why I feel like this anger is being brought up, because it's like valid, right? That's what they're saying. Like, you're valid to be angry. Right? Like, I'm valid to be angry about that. But I think about it now and I just laugh about it, because it's just wild that everybody was trying to make me fit into their version of who I was supposed to be. And that version of who I was supposed to be was never who I was. But it took me healing and letting go and forgiveness to realize that, and to let go of the hold that that anger had on me. Again, the anger still comes up because I'd bottled it for years. I mean, when you bottle anger for years and years and years, it's natural that it's not going to heal overnight, right? But since you chose the Fool card, again, it's the opportunity to take it in a new direction, to listen to your intuition, to listen to the wisdom that's being given to you. And that's what your ancestors are saying. Like, instead of carrying the guilt and the burden of blame for having anger, can you accept anger for what it is? It's an emotion that we feel as humans, whether we're brought up in the most loving of situations or if we're brought up in the most horrifying of situations. Everybody feels anger. It's natural. But if we don't accept it as a natural expression of ourselves, and whenever it arises, we're basically saying, I refuse to accept this part of myself. Right? And that's what they're saying here. Yeah, this feels like danger with the moon in the reverse on the bottom. It's like every time the moon comes out, I was hearing that danger, Will Robinson, danger. Like, it's like, don't go down this path. And so you stifle it. And when you stifle it, you're stifling your healing journey. And again, they're not pointing fingers at you. They're not judging you. They're just trying to make you aware of this. That danger is the emotional ego trying to protect you from whatever trauma was attached to your anger, right? Like, if you came in and you were angry and maybe you got slapped, or maybe you got punished, or maybe you got put in your room, or maybe you were told to conform, and then if you didn't conform, there were another set of extenuating situations that you went through, right? It's like when we were growing up, like the millennials, we were expected to fall in line like Gen Xers did. And when we were speaking up, we were getting really badly punished. And I feel like that's lessened for other generations, but not as much as it should have. And so no matter what generation you were in, but thinking about that, like if you're a Gen Xer or if you're a boomer, right? Like that freedom of expression was so limited because of familial beliefs that we have to perform when we go out in society. Even with family, you had to perform everywhere you went. And so the mask was a really real thing that we had to, it was like basically putting on your Sunday's best, right? We got to put on our best mask today so that we can blend in with everybody and no one's going to judge us the way that our family judges us at home, right? Like that's what it is. And it's wild to look back on now, but I feel like that's the thing. There's a big feeling of danger here that arises whenever this emotion comes up, and they're saying that it's okay for you to heal this. You know, when the moon's in the upright, it's talking about subconscious purging, but right now this feels like I'm pushing it back down, right? Like the moon refers to our intuition. The intuition is helping us to rise that up into consciousness. Well, when the moon's in the reverse here, we're shoving it back down into the physical realm, right? You look at the card split in half between earth and heaven, right? So the bottom half is referring to earth. The top or half is referring to heaven. The center of the card refers to the mundane realm, the human realm. And so stuck in the middle, right? Stuck in the middle, still trying to shove down the intuition of, okay, it's okay for me to feel this. So when we look at it this way, it becomes a difficult situation. Like we're stifling ourselves, but with the Wheel of Fortune beneath that, they're saying that this is where your luck is going to turn around, is when you allow yourself to move through anger instead of trying to bottle it up or trying to sidestep it or trying to bypass it, rather sitting with it and learning the wisdom that anger has to bring to us, because anger has wisdom as much as love has wisdom, as much as happiness has wisdom, as much as enthusiasm has wisdom for us. Anger has as much wisdom for us if we choose to listen to what it's telling us. And oftentimes anger is reminiscent of us not following a boundary. It's not following something, like we're getting involved in something we don't want to get involved in. It's us just sidestepping things for the sake of keeping the peace. And these are all things that involve really valid anger moments, right? So what is the wisdom that your anger is trying to give you? And I feel like anger might be something that runs wild in your family. Like when it is exposed, because that's what it feels like. It feels like a box opening, and it's raw and it's exposed and it's real when it comes up. But it's like everybody says really hurtful things, and then later you all come back around and you're like, I'm really sorry I said this. Or no one says I'm sorry, and the resentment just grows and grows and grows and grows. And so the next time you all blow up at each other, it's even worse. Right? Because no one said they're sorry. No one tried to like patch the bridge here. And not just saying sorry for the sake of sorry, but because the guilt with the 12th house, because the guilt has grown too burdensome, you have to set it down. And so right now it's about setting it down for yourself, not just for other people. Yeah, the road we travel is full of lots of twists and turns. This is almost monumental change for you. It's exhausting. There's a lot of ups and downs when it comes to this emotion for you. And there's times when, you know, like if you've had a spouse in your life, or if you've had a partner, you know, like a romantic partner, this is giving me feelings of like staying up until all hours of the night screaming at each other, trying to get your point across, trying to be heard, trying to be understood by the other. Same with them, because it's reflected back to us and the people that we connect with. And then in the morning, waking up with no voice, waking up feeling absolutely like you've been put through the ringer, run over by a Mack truck, completely just disconnected and wanting to patch that, but not knowing how, because things were said that made us feel like we're falling apart. And again, it doesn't just have to be romantic partner. This could be friends, this could be family, this could be even coworkers, it could be anybody. But with the Ten of Swords here in the reverse, it's just showing like there's no way of overcoming this without going through the emotional exhaustion. And they're not trying to dissuade you from that. They're just trying to help you realize like anger is such a big emotion. It's huge. And most of the time it's huge because none of us have been given the tools to regulate it, right? How do we regulate our anger? Can we write about it? Can we express it? Can we let it lead us down to a path of freedom within ourselves? We don't know these things because we were never taught those things. And with that stifling of the anger, that's why it's become an emotional burden and an exhaustive burden to you as well. And that's why with the House of God here at the center of your reading, they're explaining to you that while this feels, right, both the moon and the House of God, this feels like a dangerous crumbling of self, of falling apart of who I am. There's also, again, knowledge that's coming from divine, coming from the Cashapp records, coming from the ancestors here, giving you this wisdom, but also a destruction of the emotional ego here that has once held rule over the emotion of anger within your body. And, you know, that can manifest in different ways. It can manifest in illness. It can manifest in body aches and pains. It can manifest in, they're showing me like bursitis. Like if you've got like bursitis in your hip or in one of the joints in your body. If you don't know what that is, it's fine. But they're showing me that right now. And there's like back pain that's coming up, severe headaches and migraines, like needing to go where there's no light and no sound, like putting on an eye mask and all that stuff, and just being disconnected. So this is manifesting in all different types of ways on your journey. And all it takes, and this sounds so simplified, right, when I'm saying it, what they're saying though is all it takes is choosing to see this from a different perspective and following a new path. Right? Following a new path when it comes to your anger, realizing this is not an emotion that you need to hide from. This is not an emotion that you need to even blame yourself for having. Let's find out some more here. Yeah. Jupiter energy, grow and expand. This is about your spiritual growth. Like this is a part of your ascension journey right now. This is also helping you to expand your consciousness. Right? Like basically instead of experiencing anger from the emotional ego, we're learning how to absolve that anger into the spiritual aspect of ourselves. And once it comes from spirit, that's when you learn the lessons that it brings with it. Like, what is my anger telling me? What is any of my emotions telling me? It has news, right? This is news. You're feeling an emotion because there's news attached to it. I'm feeling anxious because maybe this is not a position I want to put myself in, or I'm feeling happy and excited because I'm actually really supposed to be going in this direction, right? These are all things that are telling us from our intuition and from our emotional body where such great wisdom resides. Okay. Yeah. Scorpio, here's intensity, exposing, purging, and renewing. And we talked about that with the moon and the upright. It talks about purging our subconscious. So we're exposing something here, something that has otherwise been seen as a danger and a threat, something that has otherwise been easier kept buried rather than facing it for what it is. Because facing it for what it is making us feel like we're wrong, or that we've done something awful, or that we need to be punished. And is that really true? As an adult, are you going to punish yourself for feeling anger? Like, yes, consciously you might, but is there any reason, like if your best friend was feeling angry about something that you're going through, if they were going through it too, like would you immediately be like, how could you feel angry about this? Like, how could you feel this way? Chances are, no, you'd probably be angry with them. Like, I'm angry for you too. You know, like, this is awful. Like, why do you have to go through this? Or your child? What if your child was going through that too? You know, these are all things to look at. So how you would respond to a best friend, or how you would respond to a child you love deeply, do that same thing for yourself and watch your life turn around. And that's what your ancestors are saying here. All right, let's get some more here. For pile 1, powerful ancestor message regarding your healing journey. Oh, I love this. We have devotion, spiritual practices, and intuitive history, right? So you can even do a devotion to anger once a week, you know, like where you do scream therapy or take up kickboxing or take a pillow. And I talked about this the other day. I was learning about my anger not too long ago too. Like I always try to learn about anger as much as I can because it's such a crazy emotion for myself as well. And it came up in one of my healing books where it was like punch a pillow for 5 minutes, set a timer, punch a pillow for 5 minutes, and then journal for 15 minutes right afterwards. And just let yourself free write. Like don't censor yourself and see what comes up. It is so healing, but let me tell you, 5 minutes punching a pillow all out, like as hard as you can. Whatever memories arise, punch it out. Whatever people arise in the thought processes of your mind, punch it out as hard as you can. I made it for 3 minutes and I had to stop because my arms were so tired. I was like, I can't anymore. And how I was feeling, like I was so zen after that. I was like, oh, okay, I can relax, right? So maybe devote yourself to a spiritual practice where you can let go of your anger, you know, actually actively let it go instead of waiting for it to explode. And that will help you move through it. Remember, you are a warrior, right? You have so much courage and you've taken on such huge challenges on your journey. And look, we have 35 and the number 8. So this is a part of your karmic lessons, your karmic healing. But this is also where abundance flows in when you face this with truth and authenticity and allowing it to be a part of who you are, right? Again, 44 with number 8. We have 888 from this deck. Whoa. Oh, this message. We've got the energetic realm, life between lives. Right? So here, this feels like this is directly from the spiritual realm with the energetic realm here, but this is also helping you to come back to that balanced state of spirit with this life between lives, right? This is like that moment where we're hanging out before we reincarnate again. And that's a place of peace, and that's a place of comfort and a place of safety for us. And so it's asking you to create that for yourself so that you can express and let go of the anger that has held you down for so long. All right, let's see what else comes out for you, pile 1. This one, thank you. Bottom of the deck, take time to breathe out. Yeah. You know, have you ever noticed when you get super angry, you immediately hold your breath? It might not be something that you're consciously aware of, but it is something I've noticed a lot. You know, like the minute you get angry, you hold your breath, like everything tenses up. You're like, ugh, like this, you know, and it's just time. Sometimes you just got to let it go. Right? Elsa said it, let it go. Let it go. Actually, I think I'm going to get these for you. We're going to read that from the book. Let's get one of these. Okay, this one for sure wants to come out. Bottom, we have the twins. This is the lover's energy with conscious connections. And this actually feels like the balancing of the masculine and the feminine within, but also the mother with the child, right? So we were talking about that. The consciousness is the mother and the subconsciousness is the child, the inner child. And so the balancing of the energies and knowing that it's okay to find that balance. You're the one that can nurture that connection. And when you're able to nurture that connection in a profound and powerful way, they'll work with you. And that will be your best, if you want to look at it this way, that'll be your best business partner that you'll ever have in this life, because they will help you cleanse on a spiritual level that you didn't even know was possible. And with the lover card, it always talks about that spiritual connection and decisions and choices that we have. But it's also seeing ourselves from a divinity and divine love. And when we can see our inner child from that place of divine love, that's mirrored back to us from our inner child, which helps to ease the anxieties and the tensions that we feel in our day-to-day lives and helps us to come to this place of inner peace. All right, so let's get one of these. What else for pile 1? Okay, this wants to go next. So I don't know. I'll put it there. We'll figure it out. Give up the previous plan, release old patterns, embrace change, and clear the way for renewal. So Again, just really pointing towards this is an old pattern, and that's okay, right? Again, we're not blaming you. This is natural. It's natural to feel these things on this journey. It's natural to go through these hardships on this journey. But don't feel like anger is something that you have to push aside when it arises, right? It's something we need to go through. Clear your mind. Be present, focus, and embrace. So again, the mother and the child here, right? In the forefront of this card, that's the focal point of the card here. So thinking about that energy again, this is about you letting the inner child have a safe space to let their emotions run free, while also just being present with what it is that arises, right? Clearing your mind, maybe doing an anger meditation or something like that. Releasing anger meditation could be helpful. Finding moments in peace and silence, like whatever it is that helps you move through that emotion, that energy, whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be anger, but anger's the one that's coming up so strongly in this reading. So this one wants to be next. Exploration. Okay, so creation, experimentation, universe, and underground. You know, when we approach these emotions with curiosity, we're given so much in return. And I feel like that's what exploration is here, especially with Jupiter energy, right? That's all about adventuring, curiosity, exploration, freedom. Expect powerful change. Yeah, so this is going to change your life greatly. It's the light behind the dark, right? Like shining the light behind the dark. Look at this. The griot, which is bliss, and this is the sun card. Shining a light on what was once in the dark, right? So if you think of the moon, right? The moon is the dark, and the sun's coming in to shine a light on the darkness, the shadow, and bringing that shadow to light. Once we shine the light on it, the shadows aren't so scary anymore, right? So the griot is all about the sun energy, finding happiness, finding that balance again, letting yourself be seen, expression, self-expression, self-truth. All of these things are coming through when you're able to let yourself experience this. Begin writing now. Create, express, and inspire. So journaling will help you get through this. This is just a message that journaling will help. Free writing, not censoring yourself. You need to have a safe space where you can express yourself uncensored, and that will help you work through the heavy emotions that you're feeling at this time. Okay, so we're gonna get one of these cards, and I'm gonna read it from the book. Okay, so we've got the snake card flipping over here with shed old skin. Let me find this from the book. Snake. So it says, cast off the old, reveal your true colors, talents, and gifts to the world. In many spiritual traditions, the snake offers powerful medicine. In tantric yoga, it symbolizes the kundalini, which is the powerful serpentine energy that allows you to reach your highest spiritual potential. When the sacred ones saw a snake in nature or encountered one in a dream, they knew that there was a transformation in the air. The snake card not only represents the shedding of the old skin, but moving beyond limitations caused by carrying the venom of negative thoughts about others or the past. And anger can be seen as that venom too, right? It says the energy of renewal is washing over your life at this time. If for some reason you feel that your true self hasn't been recognized or that you've been misread by others, know this energy is now leaving you. As you've been working through your old stories and all the self-limiting beliefs you've accumulated along the way, you've been peeling away a shield of skin that has created limiting experiences. Your own personal commitment to growth has been recognized, and now the external world will begin to reflect all of that work that you've been doing within. If you feel someone you love has misunderstood you recently, they will be able to see beyond that if you're willing to recognize your own challenges. This is a time for renewal, abundance, and connection. Let yourself be reborn and celebrated. Wow. Such a powerful message. Let's see what was on the bottom. I'm not going to read what was on the bottom, but we'll just see what came out for you. Look, drum, dream, and journey. So we were talking about that. The path is winding, right? That's the journey. The path is winding. And so also look to your dreams, maybe starting a dream journal if you don't have one, but look to your dreams, because you may be getting very, very vivid dreams coming up in the next few weeks that will help you really work through this emotion and understand a much deeper part of yourself. The dreams are the key to our subconscious, which is what we've been talking about this entire time. So that's something that will help you as well if you feel called to doing that. Again, it's not, I'm never up here saying you have to do this, right? These are all just advices and wisdoms coming to you, and they're always going to be your choice. And please choose what you feel is right for you, okay? No matter what I say or the messages that come out, just always choose what you feel is right for you. So, what a powerful message. This is what I see here for you today, pile 1. If you felt like this was your message, leave a little snake emoji down below and say, I let go of the past, knowing that it is safe for me to express anger and difficult emotions with myself in this here and now moment, so I can move into a state of connected freedom. And if it resonated with you, it means so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, you'll find everything you need in the description box. I would like to take a moment to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, or angel source, my spirit guides, and a special shout out to the ancestors for coming in with this powerful message today for you. And until next time, pile number 1, stay human. Bye. Hello, my fellow human. If you were drawn to this dice that has Libra on it, and not just for Libras, just something to choose from. Perhaps you felt called to this piece of Unakite. Or maybe you were called to this card, the Prince of Staves, which is the Knight of Wands. This is going to be your reading and a powerful message from your ancestors regarding your healing journey. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And if you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. Your time, your energy, and your presence is a true gift and a blessing, and I'm deeply honored to be here sharing this human experience with you. I do things differently here on this channel, so there may be triggering statements that arise on the readings themselves, and there's no obligation to force it to fit, while keeping in mind that triggers can be a beautiful blueprint for us to deepen our healing journey. Really quickly, if you feel called to, you can check out the collective message. It was quite amazing how it all happened, and I will have that timestamp down below. You might see 2 different timestamps, since because I did things a little bit different with the collective message today, but it's just the way that it worked out, and so you can definitely check that out if you would like to, okay? No obligation. All right, powerful ancestor message regards to your healing journey, pile 2. A powerful ancestor message in regards to your healing journey. South Node is making an appearance today. Okay, so we've got the 5th house, Virgo energy, and South Node. Okay. You're leading with perfectionism. And when you put something out, or when you give something over, project, an idea, or whatever it is, after you've ruminated on it and nitpicked and changed it and did all these things to make it better, right? In other words, it's like you gave it up even though you didn't feel like it was perfect. You're still in this energy of feeling like I could have done more, and if it doesn't get the response that you were expecting, or if it didn't perform as well as you were expecting, then you spend a lot of time in your head thinking about all the things that you would have changed that would have affected that. And that energy is creating a block in a chosen path where you're meant to be a leader. Not a perfectionist, but a leader. And to be a leader, you need to be able to accept your mistakes and your flaws as a part of you, but not who you are, right? And there's some sort of identification that's coming through where it's like you identify with your failures as though failures are a self-fulfilling prophecy, which they could have turned into after so many years of being a perfectionist, which feels like you were expected to have high performance as a child, or high performance was accepted in the family while being less than was not. Not necessarily that you were getting chastised for it, but it's like if you brought home a B instead of an A, no one acknowledged you, right? Like they just ignored you. But if you brought home an A, you're gonna be like, oh, great job. It wasn't a lot, but it was something. And that, like, it twists our mind into believing that we have to be perfect all the time in order to be accepted. And so your ancestors are saying here, there's something that you need to let go of with the South Node energy. And it feels like perfectionism. It feels like needing to perform at a high standard in order to be accepted. So an example would be if you have a channel on YouTube or a channel on TikTok that you're trying to get to pop off. You're basing your value and your worth on the views and the likes and the comments that you're receiving, not on the value of the content that you're putting out, which has value because you're valuable. And that's something that's coming through. Or say you're doing creative projects at work and you're putting your value and worth based on how it's received. And sometimes our bosses and our coworkers can't give us what we're looking for in validation, because they're validating what we're doing, but they're not doing it in a way that makes us feel satisfied. So if your boss is like, great, I'm so glad you got that turned in on time, thanks. But it's very like curt and it's just short, succinct, to the point. You might feel like, oh my gosh, it was wrong. There was something I could have done better. Like I should have spent more time on this. Like, why didn't I do that instead? And it's creating a lot of internal drama, and you're replaying events in your mind over and trying to figure out how you could have controlled situations to control outcomes. And that's what's coming through. Wow, this is a very heavy pile. I feel it in my Manipura and my solar plexus chakra, like really strongly. It's action based, and you're an incredibly hard worker, and they don't want to skirt over that. But your ancestors are saying, like, it's time to really evaluate this perfectionist that resides within you. That's the emotional ego speaking out for fear of not being accepted. And you are enough as you are. Like, what would it be for you to turn something in the first time around that you did it without giving it everything you've got and nitpicking it apart? And I already feel like, oh, I don't like that feeling at all. I don't like that feeling at all. Like my stomach is flip-flopping and twisting and turning, and I feel like I'm going to throw up. Like, this is a visceral feeling, guys. This is real. And that's what they're trying to say. It's like, because you're right now being controlled by that perfectionist that resides within. And then when things don't go as well as you expect, you're blaming yourself for not doing even better. And it's like, if you truly looked at all the projects that you've turned on in, what more could you have truly done with the time you were given? Right? That's the question here. It's not that you couldn't have done more. Maybe you could have. That's not what we're trying to focus on, right? I'm trying to put it in perspective for you. Like, if you were given 5 days, and in that 5 days you spent more than 80 hours on a project, why are you going to give up your necessary rest, recuperation, and recovery time in order to have a project that's perfect when it goes out? Because at the end of that, you're either going to pass out from exhaustion, or you're going to be a total bear to work with because you're irritated and you're irritable from not getting rest, or you're not focusing on self-care in the state of perfection. That's what they're trying to focus on here. And the truth is like, you have this destined path to lead people. And whatever that is, right? It doesn't have to be anything super grand. It can be massive, but you're meant to be in a leadership position, right? That could be at work. That could be in your home life, like with your kids and even with your spouse. Like that could be with your family. It's just, there's something here where you're meant to step up and be a compassionate leader. But in order for you to step up and embrace that energy, you have to become a compassionate leader for yourself, right? We talked about that in the I don't remember, was it in pile? It might have been in pile 1. It might have been in pile 1. It might have been in the collective message, but I'll say it again, just in case. I'm not sure where I mentioned it at. But we sometimes have to set emotional and mental boundaries and physical boundaries with ourselves. You know, we're learning how to set boundaries with everyone else. It's wonderful. It's great. Like, that's working for us. It's changing things for us. But we don't talk a lot about setting boundaries with ourselves. But those boundaries are equally as important, right? And that is, if you do check out the collective message, we talked about working with the inner child. But one of the things that comes up with working with the inner child, if you say, I'm tired, the inner child is saying, we need to rest, right? And just puts it out there like, we're tired, we need to rest. But if the inner critic and the inner perfectionist in you is like, I don't have time to rest, you're basically shoving the inner child aside and saying, you're not good enough for me to give you my attention right now. And it's not that you're consciously doing this. That's not what it is. It's just, that's the energy that goes out to the inner child. And so the inner child just collapses in on itself and it decides, okay, I don't have a voice here. And so even when we're exhausted, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to intuitively try to guide you to rest. I'm just going to be quiet because I know that when you're tired, you're just going to try to work through it. And so maybe being kind to yourself is just reminding yourself, like, when you feel like you don't have it in you, let whatever you've done be enough, right? That's why I was saying in the beginning, and I got so much energy in my body from it. If you put it out the first time, like, don't pick it over, just go through it one time and put it out and see what happens. You know, it's just allowing yourself the opportunity to make mistakes and to be human. That's all it is. Because right now it's like you're expecting yourself to perform at such a high level that is unattainable. And the other thing is too, is many of you pile 2 feel like you would never expect someone else to perform at the level that you're performing. So if you don't expect anyone else to carry that type of a burden, why are you carrying it? You're not Superman. You're not Superwoman. You're not superhuman. Okay? Like, and I'm just trying to bring you back down to reality. That's all. Right? Stop trying to put this burden on yourself saying like, I have to. It's just, it's coming from that wound of trying to receive approval from everyone. And the people that you're trying to give this to aren't necessarily people who can validate you either, right? Like, you have to validate yourself, and that's the thing. And so it's about the actions. And there's this quick energy here with the Prince of Staves, the Knight of Wands. It's this energy where it's like, we need to move forward, but how do I move forward when I'm so attached to what's happening from the past and being led by something in the past? But the past is where the wisdom comes from, and the higher perspective will come from, is recognizing that you did this to save yourself from very uncomfortable situations. And you don't have to do that anymore because you're an adult now. You can face those uncomfortable situations. You're not going to get chastised. You're not going to get punished for not performing at this level. And maybe some of you never did, but you learned that high approval rating or even just acknowledgement came from performing well. And so there's this fear of abandonment that's tied with that as well. Wow. Let's get some cards out and see. Definitely illusion. You might see 999 a lot, and they're saying this is because we're helping you to try to bring this to a close. But this is also like remembering we can blame our parents, right? We can totally say, it's your fault I'm this way. Like, how dare you? But chances are, like, if we ever had these conversations or felt comfortable enough to have these conversations with our parents, and they felt comfortable enough to share their real experience with us, we would realize that they're passing on what they learned as well, and so on and so forth. And so where does the blame really start? You know, the belief is so old and it's been passed on for so long. Where does the blame really start? So there's no need to blame anybody here. There's no need to focus on that either. It's just, it's not asking about who can I blame. It's about asking what can I do to realign myself into a state of balance, peace, and harmony. Yeah, so powerful message from the ancestors regarding your healing journey. I feel like this is blocking you too. Like this really, yeah, this feels like a block in regards to your manifestations. Like things are really slow for you right now. It's because there's some aspect of control that's coming out, but inner drama, that's what I'm hearing here. It's like inner turmoil, but it's actually inner drama. It's almost as like you're playing out a dramatic kiss. Let me try that again. You're playing out a dramatic skit in your mind every time you don't perform up to the level that you expect yourself to, right? It's like saying, oh, well, what if I'd done this? What if I had focused on this more? Or what if I had changed that? Or what if I had really just taken the time to do this instead? And it's like, you're so busy replaying everything over from the past of what had happened because of the lack of validation that you're receiving or the lack of praise or whatever it is. It just feels like it's a lack of something. You're not actually seeing it as this is just how it is in the work world. This is how people show up in the work world, and it's not a reflection of you. Right? But your emotional ego makes it about you, and that's okay. Like, that's normal. Our emotional ego makes it all about us. We are the sun to our emotional ego, right? Like, everybody revolves around us. When, you know, thinking about it, like, when you go to a new place and people are talking to amongst themselves, or like if you walk into a restaurant, how many of you are guilty of this? And I'm just going to say it, I am. You walk into a restaurant, and regardless if the room goes quiet or not, right? Your immediate thought is everybody's looking at me. Everybody's talking about me. Oh my gosh, what are they saying about me? Right? And that's just natural of us, but most likely what I've learned, you know, especially when I lived with my ex, he was from Mexico, and we went to a lot of Mexican places, and I was oftentimes the only gringa, okay? The only weta that was there. The only white girl. And my response to that was often I felt like they were talking about me in Spanish because I didn't know Spanish, this, that, and the other. But when I started learning more Spanish, I realized that they were talking about the laundry that they were doing. They were talking about the kids. They were talking about the meals they had to cook. They were talking about normal things. Like, I was not a thought in their mind. Like, I might have been for a minute because I was the white girl standing in line for like a second. But then after that second passed, it was like right back on to whatever it was that they were thinking about, right? And so that's what it feels like. Like, our ego is trying to make it much bigger than it really is. It's trying to exacerbate the problem. Because it wants to be in control, and if it can control our thoughts, then it wins. And that's what's happening here. And right now it's controlling your thoughts and controlling your actions. It's making you very impulsive. Okay? And again, we're not up here saying, how dare you? You shouldn't do this. It's just recognizing patterns within us. You know, that's what the journey is. The journey is recognizing toxic patterns that we have. It's recognizing toxic beliefs that we have. It's recognizing wild and unruly beliefs and thoughts that we have. You know, it's just realizing, like, we're not alone. Like, I know I'm not the only person who's thought that. I've had even family who said that, oh, when I'm around the people who are speaking Spanish, I know they're talking about me. And I'm like, how do you know? Do you understand them? And they're like, no, I just know that they're talking about me. That's an unfair statement to make, because if you don't understand them, you don't actually know what they're talking about. If they look at you because you walk into a room, like people naturally do, right? Like, people always look at where movement is in a room. It's just, we are immediately drawn to movement. Like, think about that. Here's a test for you if you don't believe me. If you're sitting talking to someone, look beyond their shoulder. Just all of a sudden, just look beyond their shoulder. Like, don't make a big deal about it. Don't make any facial changes. Just look beyond their shoulder. What are they going to do? They're going to turn around and look where you're looking. Regardless if there's something there or not, they're going to turn around and look where you're looking. That's just our brains, how it works. Like, oh, what are you looking at? And so they turn around and they look, and there's nothing there, and they go back to talking to you, right? Like, that's how it works. And so I always thought it's just an unfair statement to make, but I was that same person, right? So I had to come to terms with the fact that I also felt that way. But I was also put in a lot of situations where that feeling got numbed down because of exposure therapy, if you will. Like, I was constantly exposed to those situations. I went to Mexico quite a few times. I was always at the supermercado. I was always in the carniceria and the panderia and all that stuff. Like, I was always with them, and that's where I would go get bread and menudo. I love some menudo and the bun that they sell with it is so good. And so it's like, you know, like I really love the culture. It's something I really admire about them. And I realize like they're just human the way that I am. Like I'm not a thought in their mind because I'm there for a second and I leave. Like that's it, right? Like I'm not a thought in their mind after that. And so it's something here, but that's also the thing. It's like your emotional ego is making whatever this is much bigger than it is. Like when you turn in this project or this thing, like it's not a thought in anybody's mind after that. Even if you want it to be, it's just not. And it's because, not because it doesn't matter or that it doesn't have value. It's because people just kind of keep moving on, right? We're always moving forward. And that's what your ancestors are saying here. Yeah, this is between a parent-child relation. So there's something here that's at play with the Judgment card where there was a struggle between a parent-child relation, and that's what's coming out is this pattern. You know, it's like this pattern calls you to react instead of respond. But the only person that it's hurting is you, because this is not like a projection. Right? This is not like you projecting onto, oh, how dare you don't validate me. That's not what this is. It's very internal, and that internalization is creating a lot of suffering. You may suffer from insomnia. You may suffer from jitters. Night jitters is coming in. Or if you're sitting down, you may do this with your leg. I don't know what they call this, but bouncing your leg. There's a term for it. But, you know, like when you're sitting down, you can never sit still. Or if you have a pen, you might click a pen a lot. Or you might put a pen in your fingers and twirl it around a lot. Like you just never can sit still. And this is that anxiety that's coming from trying to be that perfectionist. And that's how it's manifesting. It's like, I can never sit still. And it's because you never find peace with what you give away from yourself. Like you're never at peace with that. And that's what they want you to come into this state of peace with whatever you're turning in, whatever projects you're turning in. You could be in school even, and this could be a school project, right? So that's what it feels like. It feels like a project or something that you're asked to do at work, or some sort of like thing that you're meant to create. This could be writing. This could be art. This could be anything like that, right? It could be, it's just anything that you have torn apart, put back together, torn apart again, put back together, torn apart again, put back together. And then finally you're like, I don't have any more time to tear this apart, so I have to give it over, right? It's not that you don't want to tear it apart again. You do, but you're never at peace with what you've turned over. Like sometimes when we close the door at work, we have to say to ourselves, I did the best I could. And I'm going to leave everything here, and I'm going to be at peace with what I did. And we have to physically tell ourselves that. And sometimes we have to tell ourselves that every day until we believe it, right? Yeah, it's about finding internal stability here with the Four of Coins. I mean, it could be financial stability. This could be a block in your finances as well. Something that's blocking you from bringing in financial stability. But I really feel like with the Four of Coins here, again, it can point to financial stability, but it does feel like stability in this realm, in the physical world. You know, earth energy is the physical world that we are upon. But there's like, you know, the Six of Wands talks about greed, right? Like being so focused on the money, okay? Being so focused on the outcome, being so focused on one thing that actually isn't the priority, right? There's so many other things that you can focus on that are going to be far more peaceful and soothing for you, but there's something here that you're focused on that's not bringing peace. And it's just because the emotional ego, again, when we look at greed, it's just the emotional ego trying to have control over our actions. And it's convinced, right? The emotional ego is convinced that it's saving us. It's convinced that it's helping us, but in turn, it's creating a lot of impulsive actions. And this could also be difficulty with the mother figure, like the mother wound coming out with Empress here. This is also just uncertainty with moving forward, right? Like fear that the past is going to continue to manifest into the future, no matter how hard you work. And they're saying that that's because you're making a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like the more that you think that, the more that that's going to be your reality, rather than recognizing that I did my best and I'm going to let my work speak for itself. There's like, can't let go of that. Like I can't let my work just speak for itself, right? Like I have to keep going over it. I have to make it perfect. And that's why it just feels like a perfectionism. And they're saying that it's okay to let go. This is a childhood wound that's coming in. We've got Cancer energy that flipped over here. Nurture, comfort, and protection. Create a safe space for yourself, right? If you have a project that you can do that with, where you don't have any time limit on, that you can pull apart, maybe just limiting it to one project and making a promise to yourself that everything else that has a time limit on it, I'm just going to be okay with. And if I start to feel anxious, I'll go and peel apart this project and put it back together. Peel apart this project, put it back together. Right? Like just leaving it to one, but never change it. Always just like let that be your focus, right? It's like if I need to give my perfectionism a place to kind of like rattle out of my system, let it be that. It's so funny. They're showing me this. So I watched this video a long time ago and it was about a dog. And no, I'm not trying to compare you to a dog. It's just, it's this woman, she trained the dog in such a way because this dog, she brought him home and he tore up everything in her house. Everything in the house. And no matter what she did, she couldn't get him to stop tearing up. I mean, furniture, shoes, clothes, appliances. He would chew on doors. He destroyed the house, and he was such an aggressive chewer and just destroyed the house. And so she got one of those dog buttons that you could record on, and then she trained him to go and press this button when he felt the need to destroy. And that's what she called the button, the destroy button. And so when he pressed it, it was just her saying destroy, 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 right? Like that's what it was. And so she taught him that if you are feeling anxious and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to tear up the house, you've come so far, like I need to destroy something, he would go and he'd press the button and she would bring over her Amazon boxes and she would throw it on the floor and she'd say, okay. And as soon as she said, okay, man, he would just rip this box to shreds. I mean, just go wild. And she would even help him, right? Like she would help him rip it up if he, like right there and everything. And sometimes she would have to get 2 and 3 boxes because he just really had all this energy that he had to get out. And then after that, he would go and lay on his bed and he was fine. And he didn't tear up the house anymore because of this. And that's what it feels like. Like you need one project. One project that's your destroy project, and just every time you feel like you need to destroy that project. Okay, like rip it apart, analyze it, try to make it better, do everything that you can to it. And it's like, I feel like if you give yourself no time limit, like you're going to realize somewhere along the way that no amount of time is ever going to make this be perfect, because perfect doesn't exist. Like it's just an idea that we have, but it never exists. It's just impossible to exist because we're humans, we're full of flaws, and there'll always be something that we can improve upon, but we'll never get to this state of perfection. But maybe just having one project that you focus all of that attention onto will help ease that when it comes to other projects. Okay. And that's what they're showing me here. And that's okay. Right. Yeah. Gemini, curiosity, intellect, and networking, looking at it from a rational place instead of the illogical place that the emotional ego is coming from, looking at this from a rational place, but also approaching it with a sense of curiosity. Like, what would it be if I gave myself a project without a time limit? Like, what would happen? What would truly happen? And how would that ease possibly your anxiety? Right? Because it does feel like there's anxiety coming up with this, or just a fear, or just an uncertainty, or something like that, right? There's something that's behind this emotion or this feeling of needing to be perfect. And it feels like anxiety, but remember, it could be anything. So approaching it with curiosity is going to be beneficial for you. Let's get some more out for you, pile number 2. Thank you. Bottom of the deck. Yeah, expressive talents. Creativity and the arts. Okay, so this could be like if you're a painter, have one canvas in the corner that you can paint over with black paint or white paint, no matter how many times. Like you can just keep painting over it. but leave it to that one project, right? Like, don't ever change it. Don't ever change it from that project. Just leave it that one project. That's your cardboard box, okay? And it's weird to look at it that way, but it can be very powerful. It can be so powerful for you to see it that way, because then everything else, you know, it's as good as it's going to get when it gets put out. But that one project you have, that's where you can put all of that perfectionism and that overwhelm, and let the internal drama play out on that piece. And who knows what's going to happen, right? Who knows what's going to happen? But I feel like it's going to help you express whatever fear and emotion is coming up from within, because you've given yourself a safe space to let it come out and not judge yourself either. Right? Like, if you need to tear it apart, you're not judging yourself, because it's okay to tear it apart. It's okay to tear it apart, and it's okay that it's not perfect. Like, this becomes a safe space for you to express whatever that is that's arising within you. And that's what your ancestors want you to do, because it's like you need to be reminded that it's okay to not be perfect. And sometimes that's really hard for us, because I feel like for you, perfection was what was rewarded, or seemingly perfect was what was rewarded in your home. And so there's a weird dynamic that's attached to that, right? Yeah, adjustments are required with the third quarter moon. Yeah, so we need to change the way that we're approaching this. Look at this. Don't let your pride get in the way. Full moon in Leo. So what I'm suggesting might sound wild, right? Like, it might sound weird, but it's just an idea. Like, there's other ways to do it, but this is just, I could spend tons of time giving you examples, but we don't have time for that, right? Like, that's just, there's other people here, and so they just need one clear example for you, and then finding something that works. If it's a project like building a chair or something like that, you need to be able to take apart, no matter how many times you put it together, and take it apart. Like, it's just something you can do. Right? But don't let your pride get in the way and be like, no, I have to have these other projects perfect. Just remind yourself, when you're doing something that's on a time limit, I just need to get this done. And that's enough. Because my tear apart project is over there in the corner. And I'm gonna, as soon as I finish this project, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna tear that one all to pieces. I'm gonna put everything I got right now, what I'm feeling. I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna like this, right? Like, sometimes I just need that type of energy and that safe space to do that, and that's what this feels like. But sometimes a pride gets in the way, which is the emotional ego, and saying, that's stupid. That's stupid. This is the one we need to focus that on right now. And you just have to remind your emotional ego, like, hey, I got you. I hear you. I see you. I know that this is where you think we need to focus this attention, but we're just going to hold on to this for just a second so that I can finish what I'm finishing here. I'm going to type this email one time. I'm not going to go back and reword it 1,000,000 times. I'm going to type this chapter one time. I'm not going to reword it 100 times. I'm going to paint this picture the way I see it right now, and I'm going to let it be okay, right? Whatever it is. But tell you what, we're going to go and we're going to tear up that other project, and we're going to put everything we got into it. And that releases that hold on you too, right? Like, it just releases it. Yeah, win-win outcome is forecasted for you. Finding balance. We talked about that. Finding balance, harmony, resolution. This is a very challenging situation. It's something that's overrun you for a while, and that's okay. There's no blame here, okay? Like, we're not blaming you. We're not trying to judge you for this. We're just trying to bring it to your attention so that you can start to work through it. That's what this is. Take time out. We need a siesta. Siestas are great. I take siestas all the time, okay? Recharge and rest. Maybe integrate naps into your day. I know it sounds wild, but naps can be so refreshing. I take a nap nearly every day. Like, midday, I take about a 20-minute nap. Sometimes it's a 40-minute nap, but it's about 20 minutes. I'll wake up right around 20 minutes unless I'm super tired. But it gives me enough energy to make it through the rest of my day. Now, it's not every day, but it's nearly every day. So I highly, highly advocate for naps. Naps are great. I met a woman once who was 98 years old, and she says, I've taken a nap every day of my life for years. So, you know, hey, I think naps recharge us. They're important. For some people, it's a cultural thing. Like, their whole culture takes a nap at a certain time. Because we need that, right? Like, we need time to rest and recover. And I feel like right now your mind's never giving you a chance to shut down, because it's like when that anxiety arises or when those thoughts start to rise, you feed into that because you've always fed into that and that's all you've known, and that's okay, right? Again, it's not like, how could you? No, it's just realizing it for what it is. Instead of feeding into that, just say, okay, I hear you. I hear you going crazy in my head. I see you. We're going through a moment of unrest right now or anxiety. We're going to go focus on something else so that it doesn't get the best of you. And it just takes time and patience and practice, right? Yeah, notice the signs, investigate symbols and nature spirits. And this really feels like seeing the signs when that moment arises where you feel like I'm losing control, right? And you are the one who can bring it back into balance. Look at this. We have chat, exchange information, disclose information, and inquire. So maybe inquiring, like finding books to help you overcome this as well. There's tons of self-help books out there. Also, I just feel like this, maybe it would be wise for someone here, if you've been on the edge of wondering if you should go to therapy or not. Like I've been in therapy. And it's super helpful. I know a lot of people who are in therapy think that therapy is such a healing space. And sometimes just having someone who's outside of the box that will help us heal ourselves a lot better. And so that might be something that will help you guys as well. Okay. Yeah. So we have jealousy, possessiveness, competitiveness, dependence, and paranoia. I don't feel like this is from jealousy. I do feel like this is from competitiveness, dependence, and paranoia. And that's what creates this possessiveness. Okay, so definitely these energies coming through. And don't feel like it comes from jealousy, although it may have stemmed from jealousy, like seeing a sibling get praised for doing less. You know, I've shared this before, but I'll share it again. You know, like growing up with my brother just kind of like coasted through life. Like he wasn't super, super talented at anything, which is so terrible to say, right? But he just really wasn't. Like it's not that he wasn't, he just didn't put forth the effort and the energy. And so he was a C student. Most of the time he was a D student, but he could get it up to a C. And, you know, like I remember my grandparents one time, he brought home a C plus and they took him out for a steak dinner. I was like, oh, cool. I was like, I brought home all A's on my report card, right? Because I was that kid. I poured into overperforming. I overperformed and overachieved everything because I thought that that's what was going to get me validation and approval. And I remember I went to my grandfather after that and I said, hey, look, I brought home all A's. And he turned around and he says, you can do better. And that was the answer I got. I never got a steak dinner. I never got celebrated. I never got like, hey, you know, let's go and do, you know, like, and that really messed with me at a young age. And so I really took that to heart and I started bringing home nearly 100 perfect scores. Like I had a 4.0 GPA my entire school career, if you will, if that's what you want to call it. And it's nothing that I'm like bragging about. It's sad. When I think about it, it's sad. Like looking back on that, it's so sad. And it's because of that dynamic that was set up. You know, but seeing my brother bring home a C plus, one C plus, when the rest, he had 2 F's and 3 D's on his report card, but he had 1 C plus. And they're like, we're taking you out for a steak dinner and we're celebrating and everything. And everybody made such a big deal about it. And I was left at home. And it was just such a weird dynamic. But thinking about like, so I understand this, like if you see that, right, like, what's going to get you accepted or appreciated in a dynamic where you're never going to be accepted and appreciated. But as a child, I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know I was never going to be accepted and appreciated. And so I struggled with that and did every possible thing that I could. I picked up every extra credit. I picked up every possible thing that I could score points on to bring my GPA up. And I was one of the highest performing kids in school. And I went to a school where we didn't have valedictorian, but if we did, I would have been valedictorian. My school is so small. I graduated in a class of 6 people because I went to a special high school, which was partially because of my grades. I got invited into this special high school, which is called Universal High. And I was able to pick and choose classes. I was able to go to college. I was able to do all these things. And it was a neat experience. Like, I don't want to ever think like it was a terrible experience, because it wasn't. But looking back on that now, like, I realized that dynamic set me up for failure, because I always equated success with people who were basically, excuse the expression, but half-assing it. Like everybody who half-assed it in my life seemed to move forward. And no matter how hard I tried, I never moved forward. And so it became a self-fulfilling prophecy for me. And I had to let go of that. Like, that was really hard for me to let go of because I was so angry. I was angry at my brother. I was angry at my grandparents. I was just so mad because it's like, you guys were supposed to support me, not make me feel like I didn't matter. But no matter how hard I tried, I was always put in a position where it felt like I didn't matter. It doesn't mean that I didn't matter, but that is how I felt as a child. Like, it didn't matter how hard I worked. It didn't matter how hard I put forth an effort. It was always met with that stone wall. And that's hard. And so maybe you resonate with that, or maybe you can, what does that relate to that? And so I'm just sharing this story because I understand that this is a hard dynamic to get through, but it is something that's very freeing when you're able to get to the other side and just be okay with whatever you put out. It's like, instead of trying to fix it or make it something better or make it what it's not, right? And I remember what helped me with this is I started doing live videos on Facebook. This was 7 years ago now. I started doing live videos on Facebook, and you can't edit a live video, right? So I'd mess up, I'd stumble all over myself. I would make stupid jokes and that really weren't funny and stuff like that. And I would rewatch them when I first started posting them because I would judge myself and go over like, oh, that's a mess. I need to fix this. I need to do that. I need to do this. And somewhere along the way, something switched for me where I was just like, what's the point? Like, I'm going to show up however I show up, and whatever comes out is whatever comes out. It was obviously meant to come out. I'm not going to edit myself. I'm not going to try to fit myself into this perfectionist. And because of that thought process, I was able to finally let go of being a perfectionist. And it's not that it doesn't bubble up every once in a while, it does, but it's not as commanding as it was when I first started this journey. And so I understand how difficult this can be, and I understand how overwhelming it can be, but reminding yourself too, like, like that, looking back, I'm not my parents. I'm not my grandparents, and those ideas and their beliefs don't have to be mine. If I look back at the little me that worked so hard in school, if I could say anything to her right now, I'd say, I'm so proud of you. You worked so hard and you deserve so much celebration and praise. And just because they didn't do it, let me do that for you now, right? Let me praise you. Let me give you adoration. Let me say, wow, you worked so hard. You got an A+. You got all this extra credit. You were the top in your class. You took AP classes. Like, you blow my mind at the hard work that you did when you were a child. I still sit in awe because of all the things that you did. Like, sometimes we have to be that person to ourselves because we're not going to have somebody who's like that for us, right? And being that for myself has opened up doors to where I can let go of the resentment. And when I say resentment at my grandparents, the resentment was so real. It was so real, okay? It was just, that was something that was just really hard for me to let go of. It was really hard for me to let go of. But when I finally was able to let go, to open the hand and let it go to source, I was free. And I felt that freedom. It was very, very visceral. I could feel it. Okay, on the bottom, yeah, we have the root of the earth, inspired action. And this is the page of coins. Inspired action, right? It's like, that's exactly what it is. You're giving a safe space for that feeling to emerge. You're not trying to eradicate it. You're not trying to tell it that it's bad. You're saying, you know what? I'm going to give you all the freedom to do what you need to do, but only in this corner of our art studio, only in this corner of the room, only when we pick up this project. But you can have full reign. That's inspired action, because you're letting it have freedom to be what it's going to be while not overtaking every other part of your life, right? And that's what this feels like here. Okay, and then we're going to look at your cards, and then we're going to get one of the cards from this deck, and we're going to read that from the book. Yeah, imprisonment, persecution, and judgment. This is something that's been keeping you trapped for a long time. and it needs to change, right? With 32, we have 5. This is all about uncomfortable change, but necessary change, right? Change that's going to help us grow even more, especially into this place of nurturing and comfort for ourselves. We take time out. This is all about self-love, and this is a very powerful act of self-love that you can give to yourself. Look at this, the High Priestess, intuition and knowingness. Yeah, and this is going to also help you reconnect with your intuition. But it does feel like this is also just pointing at that this is a direct message from your ancestors. This is, look, we have Saturn here. This is like tough love coming in, helping you. It's something that's tied to your emotions. It's something that's been controlling you as well, the emotional aspect of it. And again, it's not, we're not judging. Like, there's no judgment here about that. That's just life, right? That's just life. And when we let go of the judgment tied to that, we can really free ourselves from whatever burden it is that's been holding us back. And so this is a bit of tough love, but it's also redirection. And your intuition is going to know what's going to work best for you, but give yourself that opportunity to let your emotional ego have freedom to tell you what it's feeling. If you never give your emotional ego freedom to tell you what it's feeling or what's going on and why it's driving you and commanding your attention to act this way or act out even, like, you're always going to be at the whim of your emotional ego and when that gets triggered. But if you can give yourself a safe space to express that when it arises, as it's naturally going to arise, that's life, right? Then you're the one that's now in control, not your emotional ego. So we're trying to give control back to spirit, your higher self, your spirit. So final message for pile number 2. Yeah. Look at this. Protection guardian. Drop your shield. Let go of the shield. This is like something that's been for protection means, right? Again, validation. I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to be abandoned. I don't want to be seen as unworthy. I don't want to be judged because it's not a certain way, shape, or form, right? Like, these are all things that are coming up, and that's what they're saying. Like, you're trying to protect yourself. That's what your emotional ego, and we talked about that earlier too. We talked about how the emotional ego is convinced that it's protecting you from something that is otherwise going to rip us apart. And in what has happened is we've outgrown that defense. We needed it, and our emotional ego was so smart to create it when we were young, but now we've outgrown it and we need to face it for what it is. It says, drop any shields of shame, resistance, and fear that are standing between you and your chances of enjoyment and fun. Know that you don't need to hide who you are, the gifts that you have. You were born to shine. It says, the protection guardian is a feminine version of Archangel Michael. She is a fierce, protective, yet loving warrior angel who carries an indestructible shield of power and protection and will come to all who call on her. She will help you drop your fear-based shields and move into a loving, protective force field that will keep you safe, but allow your gifts to shine out. Although she is here to guard you from lower energy, she is completely relaxed, serene, and confident because she trusts that love will always prevail, right? So again, coming into that place of balance here. It says, you may have encountered shame or embarrassment in your past, but it is not your present. Angels are drawing close at this time to help you move beyond any limiting thoughts, emotions, and patterns that may be making you feel unsafe. Know that angelic protection is swirling around you at this moment and will help you move forward in a more fearless way. Call on your guides for help in changing your frequency so you can feel safe and protected at this time. You are stronger than you think, and your angels and ancestor guides are here to help you realize this now. And I love that. It's like talking about safe, and that's something that we were talking about. You need to give yourself a safe space to express this side of yourself. It's not about diminishing it. It's not about eradicating it. Sometimes we have to work with it in order to understand it. And I feel like some of the spiritual communities, like, just ignore it, just ignore it. But what we ignore becomes much bigger than it needs to be. And also confirmation that this is directly from your higher guides. Like, this is from your ancestors coming to you. They've been walking this journey with you because I feel like this is a pattern that has come up in the family bloodline for a long time. So you might not be the only one in your family that's feeling like this, but yours might be manifesting in different ways than others, right? So like if you have a sibling Maybe yours is when it comes to projects, but maybe if your sibling is there, it's when it comes when they're presenting themselves to the world. Like they have to be perfect. Their hair has to be perfect. Their makeup has to be perfect. Their clothes have to be perfect, right? Like, so it could be manifesting in your family in very different ways, but also you see the pattern if you step back and look at it from outside, right? Yeah, so we have shapeshifter here. Transform and unveil your gifts. So this is also hiding and blocking your gift. I did say that this felt like a block, right? This felt like a block at the beginning. And so we see a little bit deeper into this with both cards here. This has been blocking your gift. And when you let go of this, your gift is going to open up even more. Okay. And so even if you're really in tune with your gift, you feel like you're really in tune with your gift, there's still more to come. And not to be afraid of that, but just to trust that when you are free to let go, you're really connecting with that alignment. And that alignment is what brings in that flow. And that flow helps you to really express what it is that you're meant to express without fear of what it is that you're expressing. Right? What are you doing? Are you licking that? You weirdo. You're such a goofball. My dog is underneath the table. She's been licking my feet, and the camera is on this stand, and there's a little turn thing. I don't know if you can hear that. And she was licking it, and then she bumped it with her head because she's such a goof. She's such a goofball, but yeah. So I feel like that's just really powerful and a reminder, like, let yourself shapeshift into this newfound version of yourself without fear of what's to come, and know that you can let go of that perfectionism or that need to present yourself in a certain way so that others accept you. Right now, it's about accepting yourself. And again, giving yourself space to express your fear in a safe space, right? Whenever it arises, whether that's journaling, painting, writing, whatever that comes up as for you, but giving it that safe space to do what it normally does, and then being conscious. Because if you give it a safe space, if you say, okay, every night at 10 o'clock, I'm going to give it 20 minutes to do what it would have taken all day to do, and then just be present with whatever comes up. So be present with your thoughts, be present with your feelings, be present with the body feelings that you're getting, whatever comes up. And then, you know, make a note or journal about it later. Like, hey, this came up, or I thought about this, or this is something that played over and over again in my head. And these are all it's all information for you to help you move forward. Okay. So this is what I see here for you today, Pile 2. If you felt like this was your reading, leave the little shield emoji down below and say, I choose to give my fear a safe space to express itself so that I can understand myself and nurture myself in a much more effective way. And if it resonated with you, it means so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, you'll find everything you need in the description box. With that, I would like to take a moment to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, my spirit guides, and a special shout out to the ancestors for coming in on this message today. And until next time, pile number 2, stay human. Bye. Hello, my fellow human. If you are drawn to this dice with Scorpio on it, and just something to choose from, you don't have to be a Scorpio to be here, or it's not just for Scorpios either. Or if you felt called to this piece of lapis lazuli, or maybe you felt called to this card, which is the 7 of Swords. This is going to be a reading on a powerful message from your ancestors regarding your healing journey. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back. And if you're new here, thanks so much for joining us. Please know that your time, your energy, and your presence are a true gift and a blessing, and I'm deeply honored to be here sharing this human experience with you. I do things differently here, and there might be triggering statements that arise on the readings themselves. There's no obligation to force it to fit. And remember that triggers can be a beautiful blueprint for us to deepen our healing journey. So keeping that in mind, let's move forward. But I do want to say, when I first saw this, if you guys didn't catch the shuffle or the collective message, you'll find those timestamped down below. And you can definitely check them out. The collective message was really powerful. It's not an obligation though. So if you don't feel called to it, that's perfectly fine. And if you do, that's great too. But the Seven of Swords talks about perseverance in the Tarot Marseille. It's like overcoming obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, right? And I know that this is still depicting the image of the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is stealing these swords. I like trying to get away with as many swords as you can while no one's, you know, paying attention. There's the other two swords here. But I kept hearing perseverance. Like, you're definitely overcoming something that you thought that you couldn't. That you thought was going to just be a part of your life for forever. And you're making it through that. This could be a past relationship with the two of them back here. Like, you're overcoming it. I do feel like there's going to be a lot of joy with this as well. Oh my gosh, excuse me. My goodness, that came out of nowhere. Sneezes of confirmation. Yeah, so this could be in regards to a past situation, a past relationship, something that left you feeling really mentally overwhelmed by. But you also made it out with knowledge. You made it out with wisdom. You made it out with a clear mind and different thinking, a clear perspective. And that's been really weighing on you, I feel like, because it's like almost like you feel like you've gotten over this and then it comes up again, and then you work through it again and you feel like, okay, I've gotten over it this time, and then it comes up again. It's like many times this has arisen in your mind, and I feel like there's definitely a sense of betrayal here that you've been overcoming, and that could be a betrayal from, again, a romantic partner, family, a friend, a coworker. It could be anybody. But also, since you chose Scorpio energy here, it's just showing that this is something that really imprinted your subconscious, and you're taking back your power by choosing to heal this, right? Shadow work, digging into the subconscious, uprooting our fears. And so you've definitely done a lot of that. But I do feel like with the Seven of Swords, it's just a reminder from your ancestors that you're in a state of perseverance and endurance right now. All right. Powerful message from your ancestors regarding your healing journey, pile 3. Powerful message from your ancestors regarding your healing journey. Sad I opened the window over there. I was hoping that you guys could hear my neighbor playing the guitar. He's been playing it for a while, but I don't know if the video catches it or not. It's just, I can barely hear it. It's really faint, but I also have some oddly strange good ears, so I hear so much. But I was hoping that the video would catch it, but he's playing the guitar out there right now. So we've got the 8th house, yeah, facing fears. We've got Uranus and Taurus energy here. Facing your fears regarding how you feel about yourself. There's going to be a massive change here. And I love that the dice are like definitely tracking with the energy that I got from the Seven of Swords, because that's basically what I said with the Seven of Swords, right? Like, you're overcoming something and you're going to feel a lot better. Like, there's going to be a lot of joy with this as well. Like, overcoming it, feeling of relief is coming through. Whoa. Just try not to knock over the block here. Okay. Yeah, a feeling of relief, a feeling of freedom. 2 trains in a row. I'm right next to a train depot. I don't know if I've ever said I was next to a train depot, but it's not. It's like 2 miles up the road. But the tracks go right by. They're so close over here. And I feel like this is also rapid progression. So it's like you're letting go of something that's been weighing on your heart and weighing on your subconscious for a while, like something that you couldn't get over, something that you were giving your power away to, but not consciously giving away your power, right? Like, you're not like, oh, here, take my power, you know, like, I don't want to take it, I'm giving it to you. That's not what we do. But I feel like subconsciously you're just like playing this situation over and over again in your head, and every time you did, like, there was, the feelings were magnified, and this feeling that you're never going to get beyond this, or it's just always going to be something that you have to deal with, was overwhelming. And I feel like you've really focused on self-care. And your ancestors are like applauding that. Like I see them like a round of applause. Yay! Oh, it's so cute. They're so excited for you because they know that that's what's helped you out immensely through this trial. This has been like a trial of flames, a trial of fire. That's what they're showing me right now. And it feels very difficult, but it's also showing that you have learned how to walk on the hot coals and not be bothered by it in a way. So the trigger in this was huge when it first started, but now the trigger has softened because you've been exposed to it time and time again. And part of that was your subconscious continuing to expose you to it so that you would walk through it. And now because there's going to be sudden progression. So this could be sudden progression in success. It's wishes and hopes coming true for sure with Uranus energy here. But it's also just like radically changing. Like there's a lot of radical change that's coming for you. And that could be appearance wise. That could be life. That could be home, housing situation. That could be your car. That could be your job. That could be your projects, your business, whatever. There's going to be like a huge change here. And you're going to start magnetizing a lot of really good blessings into your life. Blessings of understanding, blessing of freedom, blessing of progress, blessing of prosperity. There's just going to be a lot of blessings that are attached to this is what it feels like. It's like I just keep seeing your ancestors surrounding you in a semicircle, like applauding you. Like even when you're down on your knees and just praying for help, it's like they're still applauding you because you've done so much and they want you to celebrate how much you've done. They want you to see that you've worked hard and that everybody is cheering you on because you're doing something that no one else was able to. And I do feel like this has been a really solo journey for you. It's feeling very lonely. It's been very alone. It's not that you don't have people who love you. I do feel like some of you have people who really love you, like really good friends, really present people in your life. But I still feel like there's something about this journey that feels super solo. I'm riding solo, solo. What is that, a Jason Derulo song? Yeah. I got my... I don't remember all the words. It's like I got my glasses on, my sunglasses on. I'm ready to go, and I'm living solo, solo. Jason Derulo. Yeah, it's a Jason Derulo song. So I feel like it's just something like, it's been overwhelmingly a lonely journey, but you've also learned so much. And it's like, who are you going to ask, right? Who are you going to ask? And the only people you have to ask is like your spiritual team. And they just want you to know, like, you've listened to them really well. And you could be very spiritual, very connected, very intuitive, psychic. You could have psychic gifts, right? One of the clairs, a mixture of the clairs, prophetic dreams, anything like that. Especially with the 8th house here, like you could definitely be tapped in a very spiritual way. But I also feel like that's the thing. It's like, because we're human, even if we're tapped in, like there's still moments of doubt, and you've definitely doubted the journey. Whoa, okay. Chill out, guys. Leave it still on the table, please. Thank you. All right, so let's find out some more here. I feel like you got some goofy guides too. Yeah. Yeah, there's something here that you weren't seeing clearly, or there's something here that it's just like, oh, I gotta heal this again, like exasperated. That's the feeling. Yeah, some sort of commitment, some sort of soul contract here is coming in. Some sort of soul tie or connection. Just like, really, I gotta face this again. Someone who is emotionally unavailable. This feels like there's another person, one person involved. It could be a father. This could be a, excuse me. Wow, okay. Again, okay. This could be a younger sibling. This could be a child in your life as well. But a fear of walking into a new chapter in your life. Like, so it feels like there's a fear of leaving them behind. Right? So whether this was that relationship, if it was a partner, right? If it was a partner, like a fear of leaving them behind. So this could have manifested as a fear of leaving in general, right? Just knowing that you've completely overstayed your welcome and that you need to leave, but what's going to happen if I do leave, or feeling like you don't have options to leave. There's also this feeling of like, who's going to judge me with the Pope in the reverse? Like a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of that's not how we do things, right? That's what this feels like. That's not how we do things around here. And you're like, well, yeah, but I'm not going to keep subjecting myself. Like, and again, an example, and this could be a trigger warning. I'm just going to say that before we move into that, but just say like, if you had a partner or if you had a spouse and they cheated on you, right? And everyone's like, well, we don't divorce in our family. Like, that's just not how things work in our lives. And you're like, okay, so you're just basically telling me to forgive and forget, when this is like an ultimate betrayal, right? Like an ultimate betrayal to me. And it doesn't have to be cheating, it could be anything, but this is the example they're showing, right? And that's what it's like. And I feel like there's a lot of people around here who are like, yeah, that's what I would do. And you're like, but I'm not you. Like, I can't do that. And so I feel like that mindset may have kept you in a really difficult situation a lot longer than you were meant to stay there. Or like, if this is taking care of a family member or a friend or helping a friend or something like that, you know, like you keep giving them chances, but they keep, like, so an example here would be like, if you have a home and a friend's like, oh, I need a place to stay. And you're like, yeah, sure, come and stay with me, but I'm at least going to need you to pitch in for groceries or something like that, right? You're not asking much, but you're just asking for a little. And they're like, yeah, cool, I got it, no problem. They show up, they eat all the food in your fridge, they eat all the food in your pantry. They never give you money for food and groceries or anything like that. And they keep inviting strangers into your house, and they keep inviting people over, and maybe they smoke in your house and you don't smoke in your house, like these types of things. And so finally you go and you confront them and you're like, hey, you know, like, we need to talk it out because this is starting to get out of control. Like, I have no problem helping you, I have no problem being there for you, but this is getting out of control. And then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, let's meet up, you know, in a couple of hours, we'll sit down and we'll talk about this over dinner. Okay, my treat. Like, you're still even trying to lay a smooth groundwork so that you can talk about something that's going to be really difficult, right? And all of a sudden your friend just packs up and leaves, and they don't even say anything to you or anymore. Like, they totally cut contact with you, and you're like, what the heck? And there's a part of you that maybe feels guilty for letting it go on for as long as it did. And it just was like, it feels like a really deep betrayal. Like, you really thought you were good friends, and then this happened, and you're like, what? So what happened? Like, what was going on? But you never got closure to it. That's what this feels like. There's no closure. Yeah, there's a lot of manipulations here with the Three of Wands in the reverse. A lot of manipulation. Someone who was using the connection that they had with you as a means to bully you or to control you or to make you fall in line or whatever it was. Like, they were using their connection with you as a means to get their way, and they knew how to pull on your heartstrings, and they knew how to make you do what they wanted to. But when things got to a point where you're like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like, I just can't. When you become exhausted, suddenly you turned into the problem instead of them taking accountability for what they went through. Okay, that's what this feels like. And that created a deep sense of betrayal within you, which of course it would, right? Like, that's, you're not weird for feeling that. And I just want to iterate that here because I feel like there's a sense of like, maybe I was in the wrong, like maybe I should have given them more time. But the truth is that they would have extended that time out no matter what, right? So if this is a cheating husband or a cheating wife or a cheating partner, right? Like, they would have extended that out. It's like, basically, until someone says something, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And then when someone says something, I'm just going to not take accountability and bounce out, right? Very childish behavior. It could have been a narcissist that you were dealing with as well, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be someone who's incredibly childish, especially with the Page of Cups here. This just feels like somebody who's super childish. They're just really driven by, I can't take accountability. I can't have any confrontation, right? I can't have adult conversations. I can't be honest with anybody, including myself. And I feel like it just really hurt, and it left you spiritually defeated. But you're going to regain your balance after having dealt with someone who was in their toxic energy, right? Like this was a toxic energy that was coming through. And it's like the Five of Wands here is just showing like you're regaining equilibrium after an incredibly difficult time, or after a really unbalancing time, right? Like the tables were turned. And I feel like that's the thing, like your ancestor is saying like it's been hard. Like a lot of times, like you see how he's smiling in this card, right? As he's getting away with these swords. And I feel like this is you. Like you're finally picking up everything that was felt broken or disconnected from the situation, whatever it was, like all the pain and the sorrow and everything. Like you're accepting it and you're integrating it, and it's like a finally sense of peace is coming over you. Like you overcame something you never thought you were going to overcome. It feels like a deep kind of betrayal, but it also helped you heal from something from the past, like from your childhood as well. And that's why it feels like you're picking up all those pieces. Hold on, is this? Well, I thought that was an eagle right there, but it's not. But I was seeing an eagle. And so I feel like that's just showing like you're seeing this from a higher perspective. It's not. It's just a little X on there or whatever. But it looked like an eagle for a minute to me. Like I really saw the head of an eagle. I thought it was carved on the handle. But yeah, I just feel like that's showing like you're the one that's taking flight now. You're the one that's shifting. You're the one that's overcoming this. And no matter who this was that was involved in it, it's just like you're not even looking at them any longer. Like it's no thing for you. You're just like, however they show up. So this is like a family member that you're dealing with. However they show up, you're just like, cool, this is how you show up. Like instead of letting myself take it personally, I'm just going to, dust it off my shoulder and keep moving on. Like I'm not going to fall for the bait, right? If this is a friend, you're not going to keep reminiscing over this, right? If this was an ex or somebody that you were with at some point in time, like you're just not going to keep playing it over. You realize that they told you that they weren't for you and that you weren't for them. And so it's like there's a relief here where there's no more trying to carry the obligation. Because this felt like an obligation, like I have to show up for this person. So again, if it was like a spouse or something, like there's expectations that go with being married to somebody, especially if it's not something that you've talked about, like having an open marriage or something like that, right? So there's expectations that come with marriage, right? And if those expectations were betrayed, it's like there's still this feeling of obligation that's there sometimes. And there's also that obligation that comes from society thinking that divorce is such a bad thing. But I feel like while divorce rates are super high, and I know a lot of people have problems with them and stuff, divorce is also protection for some people who really need to get out of difficult situations or really toxic situations. Imagine if it wasn't, and you married a narcissist and you ended up spending your entire life with a narcissist, which some people have done because of that that frame of mind, or because of that mindset. And they basically were in such a stressful situation. They could have gotten super sick. Anything could have happened. I'm sure there's tons of scenarios where this has happened, and it's like, I just feel like you had to free yourself from this. Or like if this is a family member, there's that obligation of, well, you share the same blood, like you should always be there for each other. And it's like, okay, that's the key word here, or the key two words for each other, right? The key phrase, each other, for each other, not me be there for them and they never show up for me, right? Like that's not how this works. It can't be a one-sided road. And that's what this felt like. They were turning it into a one-sided road. They were in control. They were being wild and unruly and really cruel to you, manipulative, saying really unkind things, yelling and screaming at you, making you feel small. And now it's just like you're focused on yourself. And focusing on yourself has given you the strength to overcome this. And as I said, it feels like the only saving grace that you've had in this time frame dealing with this difficult situation that you're healing from has been your self-care. And even at times, I feel like you've questioned whether or not your self-care was worth it, but something inside of you kept telling you to show up for it, even if it was 5 minutes instead of an hour, right? Whatever it was. It's like something inside of you kept telling you, like, you gotta show up for this. You gotta show up for this. Just keep showing up for this. Like, even if it gets hard, just put 5 minutes aside for yourself, please. Just do that. And I feel like those days when you put 5 minutes aside for yourself, you realize like, yeah, that really did make a difference. But there were still times when you questioned if this was actually helping you. And your ancestors are the ones that were doing that for you. They're the ones that were nudging you. They were the ones that giving you those insights. Like, keep doing this. Keep going down this road. Keep putting forth the effort here because there's good things that are coming from here. Whoever this is that you're dealing with, they're super arrogant, super conceited, right? Like, they're in a very low vibrational state of self. And so they cannot meet you where you're at. And it feels impossible for you to meet them where they're at because it feels like it grates wrong against your soul, right? Like, oh no, that's just not okay with me. I don't want to do the same things they did to me. But I feel like at times maybe you did, like you gave back the same energy. Like if they stonewalled you, you may have stonewalled them. If they gaslit you, maybe you gaslit them. Okay. And there's no reason to blame yourself or judge yourself for those moments if that happens. Sometimes we have a threshold. Every one of us has a threshold, and some are higher than others, right? And there's only so much, like, being super patient. You could be like the most patient person in the world, but you still have a threshold where your patience just runs thin and you're like, I can't do this anymore. So remember, like, you've met those thresholds quite a few times with this person or these individuals because they knew that. They knew that you had a threshold. They knew how to push the buttons and they knew how to get it there fast. And this is what your ancestors are saying, like, you're overcoming this now and you're facing it for what it is. You're seeing that I wasn't obligated to keep pouring into this person or this situation the way that I felt. And I feel like there's a sense of forgiveness that comes with that too. Forgiveness of self. Even if you're not ready to forgive the situation or the person, the most important thing that we can do is forgive ourselves for not knowing better or for knowing better and still choosing differently. Like, you know, sometimes we just really beat ourselves up and we're our own worst enemies, but we can also be our own best friends. And I feel like that's just what they're saying. It's like right now is the time for self-forgiveness, and that's where you should focus on the most. Even if you overstayed your welcome, even if you stuck it out thinking that they would get their stuff together, thinking that they would reform or change or whatever the situation may be, right now is the time for forgiving yourself. And that's what I feel like the focus has been. And that's why self-love and self-care has really helped you over an incredibly challenging situation. This feels super challenging. Okay, they want me to get one card out of the Osho Zen. Can you give me one card, ancestors, that would help better clarify this? Look, I can't make this up. There's a huge transformation. So this is the Nameless, the 13 card, or what you might know as Death. In Tarot Marseille, it's the Nameless card, or 13. They don't actually call it Death, but everybody knows it by Death. Okay, so the reason they don't call it Death is because it was considered to be too frightening of a card to even name. All right, and that was one of the things. But it's such a huge energy because it's talking about transformation. It's talking about going through something that is incredibly scary. Like, how am I going to get through this, right? Look, did I not say in your pile you were walking through the flames? Did I say that in your pile? Maybe I didn't. I don't know. But we have the Phoenix here, rising from the ashes. You have the Sword of Truth. You've blossomed like the lotus flower through the mud and the muck. You have the Snake, where you've shed old skin. The chain has been broken, and now there's balance with the yin and the yang sign. So there's a lot that's happening. There's like a massive transformation that's suddenly happening. It's like you reached your end, your threshold, but this time when you reached your threshold, you actually pushed through the threshold to the other side, and there was something like clarity that came through because you pushed through that threshold instead of just reaching it and pretending or feeling like that's a limit. I don't think we pretend it's a limit, but I do feel like we think it's a limit. We have the Three of Wands again with experiencing. So you go from the Three of Wands in the reverse to manipulation, and coercion is coming through here, right? And so you go from that to now experiencing life as it is. And I feel like this is like a cloak of protection for you, where you're just no longer bothered by outside influences, whoever this is. It doesn't mean that all outside influences aren't affecting you. What it means is whatever this particular trigger was, whatever this particular situation was and what it brought with it is no longer impacting you in the way that it was before. And so you're able to stay present with what's unfolding and not be completely derailed by it, which is incredibly powerful. I hope that you're proud of yourself because it's something that's worth being proud of. Oh, okay. No. Okay, this makes tons of sense. So first of all, your Chiron could be in Aquarius because we have Chiron and Aquarius both flipped over. Let's look at Chiron really quick. This is hurt and heal. This is like one of your deepest wounds. Okay, and that's what it felt like. This is like what I was saying here. It's like you're healing one of your childhood wounds. This is one of your deepest wounds that's coming out. It was reminiscent of this deep wound. And I feel like you're really, really finding the freedom from this. And then with Aquarius energy here, so you could have Chiron in Aquarius or Chiron in the 11th house in Scorpios coming through specifically. But if neither one of those resonates with you, that's okay. And if you're like, what the heck is that? Don't worry about it. It's all right. You're welcome to check out a free natal chart online, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we'll understand it all because there's so much to learn. But Chiron just talks about our deepest wounds, like the things that we struggle with the most when we were a child, right? And so with Aquarius, you struggled the most with being your authentic self. And that's what I was feeling. It's like if this was a divorce, right? Again, just an example, but if this was a divorce and your whole family's like, we don't do that, but you're the one that says, I'm not going to subject myself to misery just because you guys think that way. That is a perfect example of Aquarius energy. Someone who's like, no, I'm not just going to go down this road just because. And of course, all signs have that ability to do that. But there's something about Aquarius where they're willing to be different than everyone before them, right? They're very original. They have forward thinking, right? With progressive imagining. So there's like a lot of forward thinking here where you're realizing like, I have a right to be who I am without being tied to my family beliefs. And that's also something that you're healing. So at some point, that was something that was chastised in your family, is having that forward thinking. Like maybe you realize somebody that, like, again, an example would be that you noticed that your auntie and your uncle were not okay for each other. And you might have said early on, like, why don't you guys get a divorce? You could have been like 10 years old and said, I think you guys should get a divorce. And the whole family just like freaked out on you. It was like, what the heck is your problem? Why would you say that? That's so mean. And you're like, because they don't get along. Like as a kid, you saw the truth of the situation. You're like, they don't get along. And so maybe now it's 20 or 30 years later and you're like, they still don't get along. They're absolutely awful for each other and they treat each other like crap and they call each other names and they've cheated on each other multiple times. But because everybody's so focused on we don't divorce in the family, right? And it's like you saw what was happening when no one else wanted to open their eyes. And I feel like that's something that was really stifled in you, but that's something that's transforming now because you're realizing like, I have a right to see the world the way I see it. Yeah, sextile, a combination of tension and flow, potential in a rewarding situation. So that's that push and pull of the trigger, healing the trigger, healing the trigger, the trigger, the healing the trigger. Eventually, you become not numb, but let's say desensitized. You become desensitized to it. And so now it doesn't affect you in the way that it once did. And that's why it's easier to let go. Right? All right, let's get some more out for you, pile 3. It's this one. Yeah, that's the one they want to come through. Okay. Bottom of the deck, we have, explore your creative side. Visualize, paint, and record. Yeah, and I also feel like that's a thing, like record here. It's like you have a memory of certain things that happened in the family that people are trying to maybe convince you or tell you that they didn't happen that way, but healing from this situation that it feels like more present that you're healing from, it actually helped you heal from a past situation where now you're able to validate the things that happened that you witnessed as a child. So again, going back to that example, everybody's like, oh no, your auntie and uncle, they get along just fine. And you're like, how can you figure that? I saw what I saw and I know I was right about it, but now it's no longer begging them for their validation. You're just like, no, in your head, right? You're saying in your head, like, I know I saw what I saw and I know that it's right. I don't need them to clarify it. It's plain as day. Anybody who's willing to open their eyes could see that they don't get along, but it's also realizing like nothing I say is going to convince anybody in the family otherwise because they're so stuck on their beliefs and they think their beliefs matter more than their own health. And that's what it feels like. And so that's why it's like record. You're realizing now the memories that you have. Maybe there was a part of you that felt like, oh, that didn't really happen. Or you were questioning yourself, questioning your intuition, questioning what you saw, questioning what you knew. And now there's this transformation that's happening where you're no longer going to be questioning. Yeah, overworked, out of balance. So this also feels like your intuition was working overtime a lot, but also connected to your empathy. Like you had to really protect yourself from a lot of things and you were out of balance for a long time. And that out of balance made you feel like you couldn't trust yourself. And so that's coming back into balance here for you. And I feel like the overwork too also goes back to is like you put so much energy and effort into the situation, whatever it was, right? Like, or whomever it was, you just put so much energy and effort into them, and that was overworking you, and now you're letting that go. So it's time to release negativity. Full moon in Scorpio. Yeah, so Chiron in Scorpio is really strong here for me coming out. But again, you don't have to have Chiron in Scorpio. You could have Chiron in the 8th house, in the 11th house. But I believe I said Chiron in Scorpio earlier, which is really strong energy coming in. And now we've got the full moon in Scorpio flipping out. So yeah, this is something you're doing. You're releasing the negativity that has been surrounding this situation, and you're choosing to rewrite your story, which is incredibly powerful. Yeah, a new romantic cycle begins with new moon in Libra. So seeing things from a balanced state, but also opening yourself up to new love, right? And again, it's like this points to this could be a potential romantic situation that you're finally able to let go of and free yourself from the past. Let's see, what else for pile number 3? Powerful ancestor message regarding your healing journey. Okay, thank you. Hold on, I just feel like one more of these wants to come out for you for some reason. Pile number 3. It's this one, okay. Yeah, the twins. This came out in another pile too. This is talking about the choice that we have, but in your case, it could be pointing towards a new romantic connection coming in, like finally finding that balance within and inviting in a new partner, someone that's going to meet you on the level that you're at. The sun to your moon, the moon to your sun, right? That's what this feels like. A very beautiful connection. And, you know, we talked about this at the beginning in the collective message, how the mother is the consciousness and the subconscious is the child, the inner child. And so taking care of the inner child, the balance of the inner child here too. So it's really connecting with those wounds from the past and letting them go. Recognizing the hurts from the future as well, but also seeing them for what they are. It's just reminiscence of the memories from the past. Okay, so these two want to come out. It's been a really long day. Purity, innocence, holiness, humility, and virtue. Yeah, so you're purifying your soul, and you no longer feel like you're ready to shatter. Like this looks like glass. It could be ice as well, but it feels like there was a sense where it's like just one thing would make you shatter, or one thing would feel like you were shattering or breaking apart. And now you're finding that strength. It feels like strength in the softness, or strength in what was once fragile. Right? There's strength in that fragility, and that's something that's really empowering for you. Where you no longer have to feel like, oh, you know, I can't feel this way, or I can't be who I am, or I can't express the things that I know, right? And you're not feeling that way anymore. It was very fragile at one point in time. Why do I hear that? There's a Tech 9 song, and I can't remember. I think it was a Tech 9 and a Macklemore mashup. And there's this part, excuse the expression, but I'm going to say what he says. He's like talking about writing his song. And there's this line where he says, I'm sensitive about my shit. And that's what it feels like. That energy is what's coming in. It's like really sensitive about yourself, about your gift, about your knowing, about your knowledge, about your wisdom. Like you're identifying with it so much that you were super sensitive about it. And that's not a bad thing, right? But because sometimes we stand so rooted in that sensitivity, then we also become a victim of the ups and downs of how people receive that part of us. and we're at the whims of everybody else's emotional mayhem that they're going through when that gift of ours comes forward, right? And that's what it feels like. Now you're no longer in that emotional mayhem or that chaos. Connect with water, ocean, water spirits, and hydrate. Yeah, so getting near water, you could be, again, with Scorpio energy, you could have Scorpio highly aspect in your chart. You could also have Cancer or Pisces highly aspect in your chart. But also I just feel like water is really healing for you. And that's also going with the purity energy, that water can purify. Drinking a lot of water right now will also help you stay grounded. Archangel Metatron, our ancient wisdom and understanding. I love that he came out for you, because this is also that confirmation. Like, you just have a lot of understanding about situations that are unfolding in front of you. You just have a really good eye for discernment, a good eye for understanding what's going on before even people can name it. Whether you call that a psychic gift or not, it's just oftentimes really connected to our gift of observation, which then in turn gets influenced by our intuition. And it's really powerful for you. Like, you just notice things that most people don't. You see things that most people don't. And now you're coming into a place where you're protected from that. And you might be working very closely with Archangel Metatron. He's also connected with the Father Son. And so that's, again, shining our light into the world. Yeah, so a lot of water energy here. New moon in Cancer. You and your loved ones are safe. So remembering that you're safe, the people you care about are safe. Even if at one point you didn't feel safe, like, you are safe. You're protected right now. Creature of air. I feel like this is the Ace of Swords and finding truth and clarity here. That's what it connects to. Hold on, let me just double check. I have the book out right here. Let's see. The Creature of Air. 34. I might be wrong. Oh no, it's the Knight of Swords. Okay. Yeah, it's connected to the Knight of Swords. And it says, your ancestors were not always great communicators. You must heal this going forward. Respect your truth and the truth of those around you as well. So that's a really small version of this here. It's like, I'm willing to take my time. Respecting what you see and knowing, like, again, connecting with Chiron, like having a voice now. That's something that you're healing and feeling better about having a voice and no longer feeling stifled because you're choosing not to see it as a problem. And I know that sounds so simple, but it's not, right? Like, because that means that you have to let go of all those past beliefs, and that's what you're doing. And then we have the loner. This is the hermit energy here with isolation and introspection. You're integrating a lot of information here, but you're also in this hermit mode where you're really healing and going within and reflecting on yourself, right? And we do have isolation here. But I feel like the isolation is getting away from people or getting away from that idea that what everyone else is saying about you is right. And I feel like that's it. I'm isolating myself from those types of words from people. I'm not going to let them determine my worth anymore just because they don't understand where I'm coming from. Yeah, exam. You've passed some sort of test here. There's going to be a huge progression coming forward here. Diagnostics, certificates, election, and registration. Terrific. Fantastic results. Greatness, great moments. Yeah, so again, there's a huge forward progression that's coming through here for you. Like, you're overcoming something really strong and really powerful right now that's been holding you back or making you feel like you had to hold back for a while. And through that, you are going to feel much more empowered and more like yourself. So I'm going to get one of these cards that we're going to read from the book. One final message for pile number 3, the drum. Interesting. And on the bottom of the deck, we do have the warrior. Be fearless and stand strong. And I feel like that totally ties in with the loner card here. Look. Right? With their wands and their face paint. And they're like, this is like war paint, right? Both of them war paint here. going in. I mean, I know that he could be a medicine man here as well. And so that's just this energy where it's like your medicine comes from seeing yourself as the warrior, not going to battle, but defending yourself and defending your right to belong. And that's what this really feels like is happening here. All right, so I'm going to read this one from the book. We have Drum, Dream and Journey. So you could have come from another pile. And just really quickly, if you hung out with me for all 3 piles, leave a purple heart down below. That's a part of the Purple Heart Club. But let's go ahead and check this book, check the book for this meaning, the definition of this card. All right, Drum. Sun, stag, snake, mountain, moon. Drum. Journey inwards. Okay, so this goes hand in hand with the loner and the hermit energy. Right? If you've ever done journeying, it's an incredibly powerful tool on our journey. To journey on our journey. It's a form of meditation. Journey inwards to uncover insight and information that will be important for your path. Then follow the guidance. The drum is inspired by the sacred drum of the Sami, the indigenous peoples of the northern Norway, Sweden, and Finland. In shamanic traditions in all 4 corners of the world, the drum is recognized as the main tool used by medicine men and women. And I was saying that he looks like a medicine man, right? Oh my gosh, what a synchronicity! To direct their will and aid meditation. A drum beat can become hypnotic and send those listening into an altered state that can allow them to journey into the spiritual realms and meet their guides. When the drum card appears in a reading, there are opportunities for you to dream or to bring an inner vision into reality. You're very connected to other worlds at this time. The wisdom and intelligence of the earth and her magic surround you. The drum, which echoes the sound of the Mother Earth's heartbeat, has cleared the cobwebs and dust from your inner vision. What you have seen in your dreams and inner vision is not imagination, but guidance. Particularly if it has been coming to you repeatedly or has the potential to become reality. Dreams come true, know it, and live it. Yeah, so you could be getting really powerful messages from your dreams. But also I feel like there's something in you that's awakening that feels very shamanic by nature, or you could be considered or had lived as a medicine man or a medicine woman in a past life. Or you have a very particular ancestor that's working with you to open these gifts in regards to healing from an ancient source of being a medicine man or woman or a shaman. And that's going to be coming through. But I feel like this is where there's going to be huge progressions, is when you start really tapping into this guidance that you're receiving and this wisdom. Right? Again, ancient wisdom. There's something very ancient here that's guiding you. And there's somebody here on your journey that's incredibly powerful. And again, it's like, I keep coming back to this image, right? It's like the war paint, but it's like spiritual war paint too. It's not just war paint going to war. It's like war paint for the spiritual journey. It's like you're ready to travel and face no matter what comes your way by overcoming this situation that you've overcome. Nothing on your journey moving forward is ever going to stop you in the way that this situation has, because you're being equipped with tools and resources and modalities that you can rely on to help you overcome anything in the future. And so there's something really powerful about this dream and journey card, that the drum here. And so if you pick up a drum, if you have a drum, right, you might find that there's a unique connection that you have with a drum, or you've recently inherited a drum that might have an ancestor attached to it. And don't be scared of stuff like that. Like, I know people get freaked out when stuff like that comes up, but that's not to scare you. It's just that this ancestor came to you by choice to help guide you. Or they're asking you to make a homemade drum, and they're going to connect with you through the drum. This is a really specific message for somebody out there, okay? But for everyone else, it's just a reminder to listen to your dreams. Maybe have a dream journal by your bed. I highly recommend that. I have one by mine. I've written in a dream journal for years. They're so helpful in healing. But also you might benefit from doing journey meditations, okay? And you can check out YouTube for those, or you can go, there's all different resources that you can find to do a journey meditation. Wow, what a powerful message. But this is what I see for you here today, pile number 3. if you felt like this was your reading, is there a staff, right? Like, is there like a spear? It sounds so weird, but if there's a spear, leave the spear emoji down below, or if not, leave the swords emoji, because I think there's a swords emojis that cross like that. Leave a sword emoji down below and just say, I pick up my spiritual war gear and I battle for my right to be free to express who I am in this moment. And if it resonated with you, it means so much to me if you were to like, comment, and subscribe below. And if you're interested in supporting the channel further, you'll find everything you need in the description box. With that being said, I would like to take a moment to thank your guides, your spirit messengers, your angel source, my spirit guides, and a very special shout out to your ancestors and the particular ancestor that made themselves known towards the end of this reading, an incredibly powerful force. So thank you for coming through. And with that being said, until next time, stay human. Bye.